Matthew Kadish joins us this morning to talk about all the Mangold drama and more on Midnight's Edge in the Morning. Good morning, YouTube. It's Monday. Welcome to the edge of the internet, Midnight's Edge, that is. We have with us our good friend, Matt Kadish, who has been doing nothing interesting lately at all.
Nothing.
All
quiet.
Not at all. Been just a boring, insignificant week.
Yeah.
Or weekend,
and
I should say.
Completely eventless weekend.
Yes. Not a damn thing happened.
Got a big case of the Mondays. That's it.
Oh, somebody should just slap you for saying that. I'm just kidding. And with us, as always, is Andre the Boss Man. How you doing?
Greetings, everyone. I am good. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm doing good, and I like the Office Space reference already coming out of Matt. And as we were saying, it's just been one of those weekends where nothing happened.
Nothing.
Yeah, there's some movie that's filming. They started filming last week.
It is
one that we're supposed to be excited about. Apparently, at least James Mangold, the director of it, seems to think everyone must be excited about Indiana Jones, doesn't he?
Does anyone else think it's weird that they're making a fifth Indiana Jones when they haven't made a fourth one yet?
Oh, well, like I posted on, I think it was Gary's thing. I'm like, you got to try really, really hard to be worse than the last one. And they're off to a great start. We've already lost the original director, Steven Spielberg, no less. Then we got a new one, James Mangold. Okay, we could do worse, right? Well, what does he do? He brings in Phoebe Waller-Bridge, which is probably at the request of Kathleen Kennedy, which, that's a fucking recipe for success right there. So just to double down and make sure that this thing is going to work even better after all this, like the production's been leaking like a sieve all weekend. And at first I thought maybe it's leaking because they're wanting this shit out there. That was until fucking Mangold just starts spurging out this weekend. And we'll get into that because somebody here was one of his targets.
Yeah, indeed. But for those that aren't paying attention to Twitter, and if you don't, I salute you and keep it up. We'll bring the
Sunday morning I woke up
drama to you when it comes.
Shit. Or actually, no, I didn't wake up to it. What time did this start? It was like, was it Saturday night or Sunday morning? I can't remember.
It was Sunday morning.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I woke up to some shitter. I just got off Mead Radio. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, exactly. But let's take it back to the very beginning.
We will indeed, but let's say hi to a few people in the chat though. First.
Indeed, let's do.
We've got Mike, the Mexican Iron Man, hanging out with us. We got 6. We got. Go ahead, Andre. I can't say it.
We've got.
We got Mags. We got Prince Andrew. We got Ram Bam 3000. We got Silver Nova here. We got our good buddy Jesse hanging out. How you doing?
Hey, Jesse.
Yeah, Matt knows Jesse. We got Practical Jack. We've got Billy D, who sent us a super chat. We'll get to that real quick here soon. Speaking of super chats, we got one from as well. I can't talk. We got Nikki D also sent us a super chat. We'll get to that real soon here. We got Mr. Tickle Trunk with the wrench. We got Sailor Sonic. We have House of Trades, Film School Rookie. We got Watt. Is that how you say that or what? Miguel Farr. We got Alex Ashgan and so many more. Thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate that. And as you start to file in here, let's get some super chats, Andre, and then we'll get into the news.
And one we can bring up on screen is Spider Unlimited, who says, mentioned during Mead Radio yesterday that nothing has happened yet with Mangold. Like clockwork, he had a meltdown on cue. So yeah, that's funny. And Mags is on Twitter now. Yeah, but use with caution. So I'm going to say about that. Mr. Tickle Trunk must be in agreement because he says Twitter is bad for your mental health, kids. Okay? I see what you did there, and it's pretty awesome, and I approve. And Billy D says for $10, Last Crusade had the perfect ending to the indie trilogy. I still haven't seen Crystal Skull. and don't intend to see this either. But congrats to Midnight's Edge for all the content this movie will generate. Yeah, it's I honestly didn't think it was going to, but hey, that's how wrong you can be sometimes. And says, hello, gents. Hello, everyone. Welcome to you.
And yeah, back to that last one. I was like, I thought this was a movie we wouldn't start talking about for another 6 months or so.
Well, Mangold certainly proved us wrong there, didn't he? And before we get into that, first super chat of today was also from Nikki D, who says, for $20, thank you so much. Really enjoyed your Loki editorial.
Glad to hear it, because it almost killed me.
Yeah, and Tom, of course, is the one doing all that magnificent editing in assembling the video and making it as slick as it is. Well, without that, it's just my words. So
when you don't have access to a lot of images, you got to search everywhere for Loki stuff. When there's only one episode, it's kind of not easy.
Yeah, and aren't you grateful that I bring in Dexter and Game of Thrones and all that other stuff
well, Game of Thrones wasn't so bad outside. I've never seen it, so I didn't know what went where. So it was like trying to put together a puzzle in the dark. Now Dexter was just like, for some fucking reason, they have like no high resolution pictures anywhere of this show. It was like, did this show exist in a time when the internet was like the younger? It's not that old of a show, is it?
No, it's ended in 2012.
That's what I'm trying to figure out here. I'm like, is it because like usually when you have problems like this, when I can't find high resolution pictures, it's because a show falls in that weird category of like early internet, late 90 days. You know, so there's a lot of really bad resolution pictures out there, but no, for some reason, Dexter's is tough to find shit. Anyway, that's fucking neither here nor there. Let's get into this because we only have our guests for a while, and we have a few other people in the back room.
We also have the rest of this super chats continued after Loki editorial. Nikki D says, sadly, don't think the audience will care about the narrative implications introduced in the first episode. The MCU fandom is mostly casual consumers that aren't critical of cause and effect.
My mom would not understand this show. I'll tell you that right now.
No, exactly. It's like, and that's not necessarily a good thing. But let's move on with proceedings. We have a couple of people in the waiting room, and one of them we're going to bring in right now because he's going to assist us on this journey from the aspect of being someone that's also in the industry. Welcome, Script Doctor.
He's not late. I forgot to send him the link.
Good morning, and good to see you again, Matthew. Granted, it's not the best of circumstances, but it's still somewhat entertaining.
What are you talking about? These are great circumstances.
These are great.
Nothing happened this weekend, Bill. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was a nice, boring Sunday. So
yeah,
just a typical Sunday in the Kadish household.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cork jars and all.
For those that aren't following Twitter, tell us this Sunday in the Kadish household, you decided to make a tweet, one where you broke down why people maybe shouldn't be too excited about the next Indiana Jones movie, and you put some very, very good points there. Why don't you take us through what inspired this initial tweet and what was in it?
Well, it was actually on Saturday, and I had been seeing these leaked Indiana Jones set photos on Twitter, kind of making the rounds, and Harrison Ford just looked awful in these pictures, and so I just made a tweet like I often do, just sitting on my couch, offhanded, and I just said to anyone thinking Indiana Jones 5 might be good, let me just point out a few things. I said, Steven Spielberg is not directing the movie. And to me, that's a big deal because Steven Spielberg is most directly responsible for how great those first three movies were. Kathleen Kennedy is producing. She's the shot caller on this thing. Harrison Ford is 78 years old. He's 4 months older than Joe Biden at this point.
Come on, man.
So like, just pointing out like, as an action star, he's pushing the edge of believability in terms of like what he's able to do. And at the time, I thought that because I hadn't really been keeping up with it, I thought that Jonathan Kasdan was the writer of the movie, and he was the screenwriter for Solo as well.
You're not alone. I didn't know they brought in a new writer with Mangold. That just kind of
I didn't even know. I didn't even know Mangold was involved in the movie. Like,
I did.
I'd kind of like, I had read about it a long time ago, but I'd forgotten when I made this tweet. So I was just kind of like laying out my case for like why I think Indiana Jones 5 isn't going to be all that great based off of what I've seen so far. And I didn't know anything about the story, didn't know anything about the plot, anything like that. It was just based off these factors. I was like, temper your expectations, because this is not going to be a very good indie movie based off of like these 4 factors. And I just put it out there on a Saturday, didn't think anything about it. And then Sunday morning I woke up, I checked my phone, and Twitter had like 1 billion notifications for me on it. And I was like, what the hell's going on here? Because I hadn't seen something like that since the Birds of Prey kerfluffle that I also was involved in. And
yeah,
so,
you sure know how to attract the right people to your Twitter. This has happened before.
Yeah, I told you, Andre, that Hollywood cares about what I think. So, like, I'm a big deal in the town. People,
He's not a big deal.
Yeah. So, you know, I started going through my notifications. I was like, what the hell's going on here? And usually when this type of stuff happens, it's some type of blue check mark picks up on one of my tweets, and their army of fans kind of comes after me. And in this case, it had the blue check mark in question happened to be the writer and director of the new Indiana Jones movie, James Mangold. And he basically started responding to my tweets because, from what I've been able to gather, he mistakenly believed I was a journalist spreading clickbait in order to propagate false information. And so he was coming at me pretty hard because he thought I was like one of these like clickbait journalists who, you know, try to take advantage of clickbait in order to get people to visit their site and make money off it and stuff like that.
We got this covered.
Yeah, and what's funny is right in your description, as we can see on screen there, it doesn't say anything about that really. It just says that you tweet about news, opinions, movies, entertainment, pop culture, follow you.
So from what I've been able to gather is that someone sent him a link to a news site or a website that featured my tweet on it. And so he thought that I was the one who wrote the article. And he went to my tweet and started responding to it. According to him, like he never specified
that's his cover story.
Well, he never specified what site he got the link from. I didn't tag anyone in my tweet. I didn't link to anything in my tweet. It's just a GIF of, you know, Justin Timberlake, as you can see. And that was, I mean, what you see on the screen is literally like what I put out. So like, I wasn't trying to bait anyone. I wasn't trying to get any attention. I wasn't trying to bash him directly. I didn't even, like I said, I didn't even know that he was involved in the movie when I made this tweet. So it was just like one of those offhanded things. And those are the ones that tend to blow up for some reason, because it was the same story with Birds of Prey, where I just made a comment on the marketing for the film, and all of a sudden it became a over 600,000 engagement tweet overnight, pretty much. So like, it was kind of the same thing with this. And I was just like, I thought that maybe he'd tweet at me like 1 or 2 times, but he did it for 12 hours straight.
He went nuts.
He was just doing these tweet storms. And he was being like pretty insulting in a very condescending way towards me, towards my podcast co-hosts. And you know, we've kind of made a joke out of it, but at the same time, I'm like, you know, this is a multi-millionaire Hollywood director who is punching down on a group of people who do a podcast from my dining room.
You know what? Can I posit something? Because I'm not so sure he saw this on any like other like news site or anything, because I went looking for it until after it blew up. I couldn't find it anywhere prior. Truth be told, I think he was just searching hashtag Indiana Jones 5, and he came across your tweet, and he decided, probably along with several other fans that just didn't really get as amplified, and he just decided to spurg out on you. And I think that was his cover story. Again, I'm saying I think, this is me just speculating here, but I mean, look at the week he's had. The movie's been leaking like a sieve. Every day there's been photos leaking out. There was a bunch of background on the movie has been leaking out here and there. Supposedly the title leaked out, but he's been denying that. I mean, he's been acting like such a child about this thing. It makes me wonder if something happened behind the scenes this weekend Because what would he be doing on a Sunday? Why is he sitting on fucking Twitter when he just started filming a movie?
I actually just think it's his ego. Like,
could be, but he's
there
was Hollywood.
There was a movie that he made a while back called Kate and Leopold with Hugh Jackman and Meg Ryan. And I can remember back when that came out, I watched a behind the scenes thing on HBO about it. And there's a scene in there where a young Alfre Woodard, who before she became like a big actress, she was playing this policewoman who tickets Leopold for letting his dog poop on the sidewalk. And there was a behind the scenes shot of Mangold directing that scene, and Alfre Woodard kept messing up, and Mangold kept getting frustrated. And the more he got frustrated, the more she started messing up because he was like making her nervous. And I was watching this on the behind the scenes thing, and I was like, this director is being a total dick. Like, why are they showing this in a behind the scenes thing? It's not very flattering. I tried to look for it on YouTube. I couldn't find it, but I remember it very vividly because like I was just surprised at how big of a jerk that this director was being in it. And you know, a little bit in his defense, in my experience in Hollywood, the biggest jerks tend to be the best creative people in terms of like, you know, their output. So it's not unusual to find like a real dickhead who is someone who works in Hollywood who's actually a very good like filmmaker or storyteller or what have you. But it's just emblematic of what I saw yesterday, which is like, yeah, he's kind of a dick, but that doesn't mean he's untalented.
Indeed. Well, here's the thing that's funny is he's not like one of the younger guys like that we see in Hollywood nowadays. That's the thing is he's a veteran, and that's what I was getting at is honestly, this could have been a non-issue. All he had to say was, yeah, I know Steven Spielberg's not directing. I'd be apprehensive of an Indiana Jones film without him directing, but I'm directing it, and I'm a huge fan. Give me a shot. You never know. Sure, Kathy is producing. I don't understand why that's a problem. Yeah, Harrison Ford's this old, but would you want anybody else other than Indiana Jones? And by the way, no, Jonathan Kasdan isn't writing. Yeah, that's all he had to say.
Doctor also made that point. But before any of that happened, as you mentioned, Matt, he thought that you were a journalist, and once it became clear that you had like your own little podcast, then of course he attacked that, and he attacked your co-hosts. Obviously thinking you did this for clickbait. So let's make it a little bit clickbaity by talking about your podcast, The Salty Nerd, and bring up your fellow co-conspirator, Matt Baker. Welcome.
My barbarian space Viking himself. Matt
How you doing, sir?
Matthew, what did you do? I swear, buddy. Gentlemen, script, how is everybody? Chat.
Honestly, nice welcome, sir. I would say this is not even as bad as the Birds of Prey one, to be honest with you.
No, but the Birds of Prey thing was just a bunch of Spurgeon SJWs. This is the director of the movie, man. He's crazy.
Well, even the tweet itself is what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
the tweet itself, like at least here he wasn't like giving, like, to me it felt like the Birds of Prey thing. Oh yeah, I knew that was going to get some heat.
Mm-hmm.
This, I'm like, why is he doing this? Like any normal director would be like, you know, just please give me a chance and wait and see. No, instead he's like, fuck you and fuck your points and fuck everything. And
well,
you're fucking, just going on.
What happened here? So basically he came out firing. His very first reply was, he called me a basement dweller, basically. And our other co-host, the host of the Salty Nerd podcast, Alex, you know, he's very diplomatic. He doesn't like drama. So like he tweeted out to James Mangold. He's like, hey, you know, we do this from our awesome studio with our Batman statue. And he put like a picture of us, you know, doing the podcast in my home studio. And it was a very innocent picture. He was just kind of like being like, hey, we like to talk about movies, like whatever. Nothing insulting at all. And then Mangold comes in and starts bashing our home studio, talking about our Batman statue. My girlfriend has a jar of corks that was in the background that, like, every time she kills a bottle of wine, she collects the cork. And so he was just being really condescending, kind of bashing our little home studio YouTube production thing. And that's when, you know, Alex and Vader kind of got involved in the whole drama.
Yeah, I let my fingers do some talking at that. But I was very nice. I didn't get like super mean or nothing. And I can get mean. But yeah, he was just a punching down jerk, man. I'm shocked. It was wild.
Yeah,
it's like nice jar of corks, buddy. It's really.
Yeah, we're gonna feature that jar in our next episode. But the idea that a guy who runs $100 million movie set, thinks that these guys whose full-time job is not making YouTube content, it's just something we do for fun, and we have a little studio set up in my home. It's like, that's something that needs to be shit on, because it's beneath them. I mean, that's just emblematic of Hollywood elitists.
It's actually a very nice little studio you've set up.
Yeah,
I think so, but
it's certainly not.
It's not up to Mangold standards.
No, I mean it's not like I'm talking into a microphone on a webcam. It's a very professional setup. It's awesome, and we're lucky to have Matt do that for us for the podcast. It's a really nice thing to do. So it makes it fun.
And he was even able to offend the vinyl tiles. That's like classy for a big time Hollywood director. You know what that reminds me of? Because actually, before we get into what it reminds me of, Script. You also had a great tweet there about how he could have responded. Do you have that for us there? Let's see if I can bring it up. I retweeted it here because I thought it was.
That's the thing. He was tweeting
talent.
for, like Matt had said, for like almost 12 hours. So to go through all this is crazy. And then he starts deleting some of them. Oh, I think I found Script Doctors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if we can bring it up on screen. Otherwise, I have it here.
Yeah, like he went off on like a anti-Trump tangent for a while.
Yeah. That's why I was like, the fuck you and the fuck. It's like, what in the fuck is this guy doing? So here's Script's tweet there.
Yeah, Script. Do you want to read it?
Sure. So, okay. Yeah, I got to bring up on my side because Tom.
Yeah, this is pretty much what I was saying earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. I can read it then in the meantime.
I got it right here. So,
okay, perfect.
How creatives should address concerned fans with reservations. Your doubts are understandable. My goal is to tell a great new story fans will love as well as a new audience and leave them wanting more. I want this to be fun for everyone, and I'm not looking to disappoint them.
See there? That's how difficult it was. That's the
Exactly.
right way to answer.
You know what's weird about this whole situation, though, is like my tweet, Mangold took it, number one, as a personal attack, and number two, as spreading lies and fake news about the movie. And so many people were like, like, how dare you like attack this movie you haven't seen? I'm like, I didn't say anything about the story. I didn't say anything about what the movie could be about. I simply said Steven Spielberg's not directing it. Kathleen Kennedy is producing it. Harrison Ford is 78. And that was their big argument, that I was an ageist. And so like Mangold personally felt like I was attacking Harrison Ford. I was like, he's literally 78 years old. The only thing I got wrong
over at this point.
Yeah. The only thing I got wrong was that Jonathan Kasdan wasn't writing the movie. But last I heard, he had done work on the movie before Mangold came on, and I guess like threw that out the window.
He did. No, he was. Well, and like I said, I wasn't even aware. I knew Mangold, and when I said that earlier, the only reason I remember that specifically is because I've been making the joke for a while: is they're going to kill Indy because it's a guy who killed Logan. So that's why, like, why else would you bring Mangold in? But no, I get it. He's a veteran director. He's a great director.
Well, I think that they brought him in because he had a deal with Fox, and when Disney bought Fox, his deal probably transferred over to them, and they were like, what do we do with this guy?
The other side of it is he denies having any connection with Boba Fett movie, but that was a huge thing for a while, that he was attached to a Boba Fett movie, and then all of a sudden he wasn't, and he didn't seem to have a falling out with them, so maybe this was just a gimme makeup kind of deal. Maybe Spielberg picked him.
I think that's the more likely scenario. Spielberg kind of like handed it off to him. Because I don't see Kathleen Kennedy making a choice like that. She'd want a younger, more inexperienced director she could control.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And you're right, because like this just for some reason the well, I'll let you guys discuss it because you're in the midst of it all. But like I just don't understand the behavior here from a veteran director. Like I said, he's taking like the playbook right from Feige. Or not Feige, but Feig and
Feig, and Josh Trank
and Ryan Johnson.
Mostly Josh Trank, because honestly, this is like the worst thing I've seen since Josh Trank. Josh Trank was like the one that tweeted out, apparently, I have to say, or is rumored to have tweeted out a picture of his dog's butthole captioned with, "This is what I think of you fans criticizing my movie." And then his Twitter account disappeared real fast after that. And then apparently he also went on like another. It wasn't Reddit. Yeah, he also had like a Reddit meltdown with someone that claimed to be him. And then later it was, who was it? The guy who did a Latino review. I forget his name right now. Anyway, real prolific influencer and pundit. What's his name? Worked loads with John Campia and stuff. But anyway, he also said like Josh Trank Don lost his mind. And this reminds me of that, honestly, because here you have a director of $100 million plus mega blockbuster worldwide feature film, and he spends a full day. Now, granted, Sunday, so I guess that we can imagine it's probably his own free time, but still, he spent the entire freaking day going after fans on Twitter and insulting the entire audience in every single way possible.
I don't think you guys understand the importance of having me and Matt Vader on your show, because we run the most influential podcast at Lucasfilm right now.
Well, you got
everyone cares about what we think.
You have the corks, Matt.
It's all about the corks, baby.
Yeah.
To me, it's showing just as insecure as Trank was, as Feig was, as Johnson was, and Tim Miller to an extent. It's just showing the same kind of shit. And then Elizabeth Banks as well with Charlie's Angels. And then who was the one that directed Birds of Prey? I can't remember her name.
Kathy Ann?
Whatever it was. Yeah. It's all the same playbook. And he went through the entire playbook yesterday. He went from attacking you personally, calling you a basement dweller and all that shit, to attacking you as some kind of Trump supporter, even though, honestly, I mean, I couldn't really see anything on your main page right away to really say that. But hey, he just went after you and just decided, like when fucking Feig went out and said, anybody who doesn't like Ghostbusters 2016 is a fucking Trump supporter.
Yeah, this really reminded me of the Paul Feig
to be fair though, it wasn't Feig that said that. That was the guy who did Freaks and Geeks. He was the one. What's his name again? The Freaks and Geeks guy.
Seth Rogen.
No, not Seth
Rogen. The other one. The one who I can't think of his name. He's annoying as piss.
Yeah,
I used to like him,
but anyway, he was the one that said
Judd Apatow.
No.
Thank you. Yes, Apatow.
Yeah,
It was him. He was the one who first basically said that the people who don't like everything about this new Ghostbusters thing, they're probably Trump supporters. He was the one that started that. So let's have that thing. Also, Stephen Otten says for $5, Andre, I agree. I was also reminded of Josh Trank. I feel like we're right back where we started. And yeah, it kind of is. But this also reminds me of, and I want your thoughts on this. If we think back to Tim Miller during the production and marketing of Terminator Woke Fate, or Dark Fate, as I believe the technical title was.
Is going to scare the shit out of you.
Exactly. And that one sentence that he put out, not directly to any fans, but it was still attacking the fans, where he said, like, this woman, she's so amazing, and she's going to scare the crap out of every misogynist little basement-dwelling fanboy.
That's what it was,
to that effect.
You would think that these guys would learn.
Yeah, and that one statement can follow the movie all the way up until its release. I'm not saying that the movie bombed because of that statement, but he lost the fan base in that moment. That's the moment when the fans were out, and they never came back again.
And that was my point when I said, it's guys like Matt that people even know who Mangold is, or that he directed Logan or any of that shit. And a lot of people took me to task for that. I'm like, no, if you understand what I'm getting at is general audiences don't give a shit. And half the nerds don't realize who's doing what. Like, there's still people who think that Steven Spielberg directs the Jurassic films, for fuck's sake. I mean, they don't care. They only know of a certain director. A director to them is kind of Fugazi. Like, they see an actor, they don't normally see directors. So unless there's somebody like Tarantino, they just don't really exist to them. And I can tell you, James Mangold is not somebody who's on the lips of every fucking person in the world.
Yeah. Also, like, I have experience working in Hollywood. So I've been in many situations where I've gotten into arguments with directors, producers, other writers, stuff like that. I'm sure Script Doctor can relate.
Oh, yeah.
We're like, you know, these are just, most of the time they're either very egotistical, or they are so passionate about their stance that they're unwilling to back down. And so you have these kerfluffles. It's not something that's unusual to kind of have a back and forth between someone like a James Mangold and people who are forcing him to justify his decisions. But I'd be interested to hear Matt Vader's thoughts as an outsider, because on our podcast, we have this good dynamic where he doesn't care. He just wants to shut his brain off and watch a movie. And I'm sitting here analyzing every little thing.
I'm the popcorn guy.
Matt's so laid back. The other night. Yeah, Matt V.
Entertain my eyes and my ears, and I'm usually happy with the movie. But man, this thing, you know, Mangold's made some good movies. I looked at his list. I've seen most of them.
Great movies, actually.
And I was completely entertained by most of the ones that I've seen of his, especially the Logan and Wolverines. But, you know, when these guys punch down like he did, you know, I'm just a fan. And now I'm questioning whether I even want to see Indy 5 at this point, you know, and I think that's what people in our circle and community are going to be like. We're going to judge this guy now. He's a dick, you know, he doesn't like people to watch his movies, apparently. And that's hard for me to say, because Matt knows Indiana Jones is my jam. It's above Star Wars for me. It's like Raiders of the Lost Ark is like my perfect movie since I was 12 years old.
Yeah, Vader only has 2 5-star movies. And Raiders is one of them. Yeah.
And then there's the second one and the third one and the one we don't talk about. But, you know, I don't know why any director would even bother spending a day on Twitter when he has, you know, other things.
Because my opinion is important, Matt.
I'd be more concerned about whether Harrison Ford could chew his food or not. So,
you know, see, Vader, because he does a weekly podcast with me, he's not used to how important my opinion is and how much water it carries in Hollywood. So,
well, you are, you know, the end all be all. You even stirred up Scotty Mendelson of all people.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Mendelson picked up on this, and you know who else? Matt Jarbo. He did a video defending Mr. Mangold and calling me a basement dweller.
Did he really?
I always find it funny how people insert themselves into these conversations. It's just
so many insert themselves.
Yeah.
Like,
there's been a few others, but I'm not going to name them.
But the biggest one, though, of course, is our good Forbes contributor, and I call him contributor because he's not really a Forbes journalist.
Scotty.
That was so funny because that's like all the people that get involved. And here's like the thing that I find funny with this, that Mendelson, he probably obviously just wanted to score some brownie points.
You think so, or did he get a phone call or a text from Mangold? Do you think?
I don't think so, honestly. Well, maybe he got one from Mangold, but he didn't get one from Disney or Lucasfilm.
No,
that's for damn certain, because all he did was just disseminate the drama even further. And you can see from the final statement from Mangold, the very final one, we'll get into that. That's when he got the phone call.
Yeah, and that was my question here, because look, this is the one time in a while you're going to probably hear me say anything good for Kevin Smith until well after He-Man comes out, so get ready for this. He needs to take a note from Kevin Smith. Stay the fuck off the internet. Start editing your movie on your day off. That's what Kevin Smith does. That's why his movies get done so quickly.
And he cries.
First day off, all he does is go through everything that he shot that week and he starts cutting instantly. Some nights he does it on the first night. That's what Mangold should be doing right now, going through every inch of footage he got and not worrying about what the fucking internet's saying, not worrying about the rest of the world. Instead, he's making it look really bad. But I know we got these gentlemen for a short period, so let's get through the rest of this here.
Yeah, let's were there any other like really specific comments that he made that you guys would like to address before the final one?
It was kind of funny because when he went off on the anti-Trump stuff, he posted an image where he listed, it was like an image of all the stuff that Trump has gotten right and has proven to have gotten right since he left office. And then he had rebuttals in there. And one of them was the defense of critical race theory. And basically, for those of you who don't know, critical race theory is basically the theory that racism is institutionalized. So every white person is racist, every court is racist, every company is racist, and they need to constantly be making up for this racism. And I just put out a tweet that said, like, a rich white guy who works in a white-dominated industry who is making a movie about a straight white man defends and promotes critical race theory. Keep fighting the power, bro. And that was the tweet that he deleted because he was getting a lot of pushback on that. So like, you know, that kind of ended the political aspect of things. But after he deleted that tweet, a lot of his followers started calling us like far right wingers and you know, like the right wing conspiracy and, you know, the Trump supporters and stuff like that. And that
well,
was
that's
like,
just an easy way to get a tide of people coming after you real quick.
yeah. And, you know, what was interesting about this is that when the Birds of Prey thing happened, those were like hardcore, like track them down your home and kill you SJWs who were coming after me. With this, it just seemed more like they were just fans of this director, and like they don't understand a lot about movies. They think Kathleen Kennedy actually, you know, was responsible for making the movies she produced good. A lot of Last Jedi defenders and stuff like that. But they just seemed like fans of Mangold and his movies, and so they were coming out to support him and defend his position and stuff like that. So like it wasn't really too mean-spirited. I mean, I did get a couple of nasty private DMs from randos, but by and large, it was like nothing compared to the Birds of Prey thing. And so it was just kind of like a interesting thing where everyone started jumping in and tweeting at him, and he started tweeting back. And Vader, did he respond to any of your stuff?
No.
I know you tweeted at him a couple times. I know Alex did too, and I think Alex got a few responses.
No, I think he was pretty hyper focused on you.
But
I was playing too nice yesterday. I think
that's the thing that's funny about this is, I mean, there's people who even accused you of doing this on purpose, like you had planned. Like Mangold was gonna, like, in what world? Yeah, exactly.
I am
like,
an evil genius.
you post stuff almost I wouldn't say every day, but you post stuff all the time, kind of like this. This is nothing new out of you. I mean, actually, I'll go back to this one super chat here. Mr. Tickle Trunk says, how did you guys get the infamous salty nerds, the arbiters of truth, on the show? They're so big, Hollywood directors address them directly. Well, actually, I've known Matt personally for over 2 years, or almost 2 years now, right? And
I think more. I think
more than that. I
like
think
3
actually
years.
3 years. I was going to say, I'm trying to figure. We lost a year. I forget that sometimes. So, like, yeah, and Matt's been on quite a few times, and we've been trying to get him on the morning show. So basically, I know that. I guess that's the key is he's just got to shake a director and we can get him on the show. That it's not our choice, it was his. I've been trying to get him on the morning show for weeks now. So
well, you know, the biggest thing to come out of this is that yesterday Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers made a video where he admitted I was right. that to me was bigger than Mangold, because for 4
it is true.
Like it took him 4 years to finally admit it. He finally came out and said, Matt Kadish was right about Kathleen Kennedy. I was wrong. and I did a stream with him yesterday where I kind of ribbed him on that. I was like, oh, it took you 4 years, but eventually I'm always proven right.
Exactly. Win out in the end.
But that's right. I remember. I forgot that the first time I saw you was on that video with Jeremy.
Yeah. No, I was the only person there saying Kathleen Kennedy was not getting.
That's
fired.
right. Yeah, you were getting
not going anywhere, and they were all digging into me.
The shit out of.
Yeah.
But Matt Vader, I know that you have to leave us.
Yes.
So
check out the Salty Nerd podcast if I could talk.
Yeah, the link is in the description.
Yeah, we so if you're on Apple Podcast, if you're on Spotify, we have our audio only versions up on there. Pretty much anywhere podcast you can listen to them. But we're also really doing a lot on YouTube, where we're trying to be like the Tim Pool of movie review shows, where we sit there, we videotape ourselves talking about movies. We have a big kind of talk show format almost. And it's a lot of fun. We got a lot of different perspectives. Yeah. My girlfriend's on there. She's crazy. Vader's super salty. Alex keeps things moving. It's a lot of fun.
I like to dress up sometimes. So,
Yeah, he likes to cosplay. But if you go to saltynerdvideo.com, that'll take you right to our YouTube channel, and you can check out our content and subscribe if you like it. We're really trying to, try and get to the point where we can do this full time so Vader can quit his job. and just be salty 24/7.
Salty 24/7. Yes.
Yeah, and with your guys' help and support, we're getting closer and closer to that goal. So we really appreciate any support you can give us.
I'd like to retire to do something I enjoy.
Yes, indeed. So any fan of James Mangold should take his endorsement seriously and go check out the Salty Nerd podcast. I mean, they obviously have Hollywood's attention.
Obviously.
Yeah, and if you can't follow that big, complicated link, just go to saltynerdvideo.com. Takes you right to our YouTube page.
Yep.
All right, excellent. Well, with that, Vader, you have to be leaving us, so thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Matt, as in
Take care,
Kadish,
buddy.
do you have a few more minutes, or do you have to leave as well?
No, I can stick around for a bit.
Yeah, let's try
Okay.
and knock out some of these super chats that are addressed at you and the situation.
Yes, indeed. Let's do that. We can start with the ones that we can bring up on screen right away. Drew with Comics Elite says, as soon as Mangold responded, he lost his argument.
Yeah. Well, he shouldn't even have said anything to begin with.
No, exactly. Here's like the thing that people like, well, really anyone that's in the position where they run anything, they have to understand that you don't always have to respond. I mean, if an accusation is completely freaking ridiculous, you don't have to respond. Like, there's no reason. Like, you're above it. You don't have to go down to that level. In this case, he wasn't even called out.
Yeah, you know what's funny? If you look at my original post, what did I say that wasn't an attack necessarily?
Yeah, you just hashtag Indiana Jones 5.
Stated facts.
Steven Spielberg's not directing. Kathleen Kennedy is producing. Harrison Ford's 78 years old. The only thing I got wrong was that apparently Jonathan Kasdan didn't write the script. So, but you could say that's a good thing I got that wrong. So,
he's still listed on IMDb though. Still,
correct that.
Well, the other part too is like, I mean, you said you were presenting like if anyone thinks that this is going to be good, these are the things to consider, because you're showing examples of a pattern we've seen with a couple other franchises. I mean, that's quite justifiable. However, like Mangold had a perfect opportunity to dissuade you from that, and instead went the exact opposite direction.
Yeah, he should have gone Trevorrow, and instead he went full Johnson.
Agreed, 110%. Because I was trying to find that, because I could have swore Trevorrow actually even apologized for the last Jurassic film. And he was like, yeah, I was distracted with things, which we know what he was distracted with or whatever. Yeah, I was trying to find that.
Trevorrow is humble. Like,
exactly.
He's someone who he's like, yeah, I'm flawed. I don't always do the right thing, but, I care about you guys and I want to entertain you guys. And so, contrast that with like, my shit don't stink. I know what's better. I'm better than you, take what I give you and like it. Like, that's kind of the Mangold Johnson kind of mentality. And this whole thing really did remind me of the Paul Feig, whatever you pronounce his name, situation where basically
it's not with an A, even though many are tempted to think that, but it's Feig. Yeah.
But basically he made a movie that he knew was going to bomb, and he was afraid it was going to bomb, and so he went full attack on the critics, trying to make it seem like they were sexist, misogynist instead of actual fans that had legitimate gripes. Right. And he just came out swinging, and that narrative didn't stop until the movie left theaters after it had tanked. And so, this playbook has been tried before, and it's failed every time it's been tried. And I don't understand. I guess like maybe he doesn't follow this stuff, or he doesn't care about it, or whatever. He thinks that he's above it all. He does seem like an elitist. He does seem like someone whose ego about himself is so big that he just looks down upon other people. And so, like, I think a lot of that is what drove yesterday's Spurg out. Was like he was like, I'm going to set the record straight. People are going to listen to me because I'm important. And his attacks were very subtle. In fact, he kind of changed his strategy later on in the day, where at first he was being kind of like very snarky and insulting. And then he got to the point where he was like, maybe this isn't coming off right. So he tried to make it seem like he was being nice while he was still being very, I don't know what the word would be, kind of dismissive or passive aggressive, I guess.
Patronizing.
Patronizing. Thank you. You are the script doctor.
Kind of like he got poked a little bit.
Well, I think he saw some of the criticisms, and he was like, okay, I'm not coming off well. So he started doing what looked like the Trevorrow.
I don't think he's self-aware enough. Somebody told him.
Yeah, well, he started doing what looked like the Trevorrow strategy, where he's like, okay, you fans tell me, what you want to see. But then, like, if you really read the tweets, it's like he's putting fans in quotation marks. Yeah, very condescending stuff. But he did kind of shift strategy midway through the day after a lot of this stuff kind of didn't go so well for him.
Yeah, and then he went and I can't even remember what he said in the one tweet. I think it was either early this morning or late last night where he kind of tried to squash the whole thing, it seemed like, or like where Andre was saying earlier, where we're pretty sure somebody from Disney called him and said, "What the fuck are you doing?"
I kind of
doubt that. I kind of doubt it, actually. Yeah, I don't.
To a point, I don't know, because
I don't think anyone called him. I think that this was something that was going on that was under the radar of a lot of people outside of the Twitter sphere.
Well, here's the thing: is the Flying Monkeys came out last night, and these are the same Flying Monkeys that come out when anything Lucasfilm, mainly Star Wars, is involved, right? But here's the thing that you pointed out, guys, earlier that I noticed is it's not as ferocious, because they don't have as much to hang on to here as they did with Star Wars. With Star Wars, they had the Rey thing. They had other things. You had Reylos involved in well. So you had a lot of other people. I think, like, the other Matt and you and we all kind of got to right away. Indy's a little different than Star Wars, right? I mean, it's just as popular almost. And it's definitely Lucasfilm's second, golden goose. But it is much more male driven.
Well, what was interesting about this thing is that a lot of the attacks, a lot of the defenses of Mangold's position are the exact same playbook that you see for Last Jedi defenders,
exactly.
for Birds of Prey defenders. They come out, it's like, how you can't criticize a movie you haven't seen. They use my profile picture as proof that, like, I'm stupid or something like that.
I think you were off getting a drink or something when I was talking to the other Matt before the show, and I said it's funny because this is like the book that was written by Josh Trank with forward by Ryan Johnson and epilogue by fucking Tim Miller. Yeah. It's like go ahead. Sorry.
They call you some type of ist, so sexist, misogynist. Ageist was the one for this one, although I don't think that carries as much weight as some of these other things.
It's funny. You just merely referenced his age, which is
I merely stated how old he was.
Yeah.
And that made me ageist.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because they kept showing pictures of Harrison Ford riding a bike and saying, like, he's in great shape for his age. And I'm like, if you have to append for his age to any statement, that means he's too old.
See, that's another good thing you brought up, that, because I was curious for a moment there. I'm like, with all those photos that were leaking out, I'm like, this seems like too many for it to be like somebody on the set or some paparazzi. Like, this feels like these are meant to be coming out on purpose to get some kind of buzz going, and I don't think it got the buzz going that they wanted. And I think maybe that's where Mangold started lashing out at people like you, Matt. I could be wrong,
but like my point about Harrison Ford's age, it's not that I don't dislike Harrison Ford. I love him as an actor.
No, but he's getting to the point where Indiana Jones would actually be in the movie, like the year the movie Raiders of the Year Lost Ark came out.
The point is like whether the audience will be able to suspend their disbelief enough to believe that a man who looks as old as Harrison Ford can be taking punches from Nazis, can be dragged behind a car, all this other stuff. And Mangold never really did anything to kind of assuage those fears. He kept saying, like, if I let anything leak, the rest of it will leak. And so he was trying to defend his position without really saying anything that could defend his position, which was a little bit strange, in my opinion. But the whole ageist argument just kind of came out of nowhere, because my whole thing is like, I don't care that Harrison Ford's 78 years old. Like, he's still a great actor. I care about, because when Crystal Skull came out, like, he was like, what, 65? And that was pushing it for believability in that movie. And with the set photos that came out now, he just looks so old and haggard that it makes, like, he looks like grandpa. Like, if he broke his hip slipping in the tub, how is he going to take a punch from a Nazi? It's a suspension of disbelief thing. And that's what I'm most worried about, is when I go to see this movie, and I will go see it. If seeing him do, it was almost like watching Patrick Stewart do the action scenes in Picard. It was just so unbelievable. Like, he's such a frail old man that, like, when he gets thrown back 50 feet from an explosion, you're like, that would kill him. That would literally kill the guy.
Right.
So,
No, I was just gonna say that's what reminded me of was those arguments when we would bring that up. Oh, your age is like, oh, fuck you. You're the first time you ever care about anybody's age, because any other time it's we don't care what 40-year-old white dudes or old white dudes are doing, or you're trying to tear down old white dudes or kill them all. The only time they even give a shit about anybody being ageist or anything like that is when it has anything to do with what they are trying to defend. That's the only time they give a shit. So that argument to me is.
I also think Mangold thought that me saying that Spielberg was not directing the movie was like a personal attack against him, even though when I wrote that, I didn't know who was actually directing the movie. I had forgotten it. I
don't think that he would be any less insulted if he knew that.
Yeah, I mean, it was obvious I touched a nerve, and he actually thought or believed that like I was like some type of journalist who was spreading fake news. And it was weird because like he kept accusing me of clickbait, which his followers kind of jumped on. And I was like, I didn't link to anything in my tweet. I didn't tag anyone in my tweet. I didn't post it anywhere except my private Twitter timeline. I mean, it's public, but I mean, it's my timeline. And so like I literally did nothing, which is why I'm so influential in Hollywood, because everyone hangs on my Twitter feed wanting to know what I think about stuff.
Yeah, we have the Kadish scale. We get the alert
Yes.
of it every morning.
Yes, everyone cares what I think, and so
Well,
I'm a mover and shaker in the industry.
Well, a lot of the YouTube sphere made a bunch of videos about the leaks and crap, but you're the only one who got singled out. That's the funny thing. And you guys, I've been on your podcast before. It's pretty laid back. You mainly just talk the news. You don't really get into the gossipy or the rumor stuff at all.
And you know, we really don't do a whole lot of entertainment news. Like our big thing is movie reviews, where we pick a theme like ninja movies, and we'll watch 3 ninja movies and we'll talk about them. And it's more of a comedy show. It's not really like we try to educate, we try to entertain, but it's not really something where we're like, oh, Brie Larson said this,
exactly.
blah, blah, blah. Like we don't get into that stuff. We try to do more evergreen content where you could watch our videos a year from now and still find them entertaining instead of being like, oh, that's old news. So like that's what our focus is on. And my Twitter feed, for whatever reason, just gets a lot of attention from people. Like you said, a lot of people were doing stuff about Indiana Jones, but I'm the only person the director and writer responded to. So
right, and that's what I was getting is like didn't go after any of the other YouTubers that made videos. What I don't even remember you guys making a video. So why did he pinpoint you out of everybody? Because
I'm super important in the industry, Tom.
It's that sexy face.
Yes.
Let's not forget that he actually called you.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
he was like, give us your credentials so we
your
can
profile.
Oh yeah, he tried to bait me. Yeah, he tried to bait me. So he basically said that, you know, like I had mentioned that I had worked in Hollywood, and I said anyone who knows anything about Hollywood knows that Kathleen Kennedy did this on these movies instead of this. And so he kind of like threw down the gauntlet, and he was like, tell me what your experience is so we can be on equal footing. And I did reply to him. I said, I made a movie with Jeremy Renner. I'm obviously not as successful as you are, but I did work in the industry for like 10 years. And, you know, I did all this and that. And he didn't respond to that. Like he just kind of ignored that reply. And I would have liked to have engaged with him. I would have liked for him to have watched my short film that's on YouTube and you know, be like, you know, I was wrong about you. Let me give you a couple $1 million.
Buy your book or something.
or something. Yeah, you know. But
this is what I was trying to say before. What Dr. Coffin was saying here. Henry Jones was born in 1899. If he were 79 or 80, it would be 1978 or 79. That's what I was saying. It would actually take place now in the year that Raiders of the Lost Ark came out. That's where we're at time-wise. Yeah, because Raiders came out in 81, but still. Yeah, and then they're de-aging him on top of it.
Yeah, I think they're going to have some flashbacks to Nazi era.
I think so. Well, I heard
the problem with that is that they're probably going to use Disney's own proprietary de-aging technique instead of, you know, what's it? Oh, brain fart. What's it called again? Like the
deep fake, but they don't
deep faking. Yeah,
they don't use deep fake though because they have a different technology.
Yeah, exactly. They have their own proprietary one, which is shit compared to deep fake. But that's what they're going to use. So look forward to robot plastic.
Yeah,
all that crap looking Indiana Jones. That's going to be good times.
Yeah, it was. I can't remember what it's called either, but I think ILM made it, and they used it for. I think the first time wasn't it in
Tron, I believe. Tron.
Yeah, Legacy. I think so. Yeah, Tron Legacy, and then And then they used
And
it
it
again
was
in
fine
Avengers. It wasn't Civil War. It was the one after that, I think.
Yeah, Ant-Man.
They
Yep,
did use it in
Ant-Man.
Civil War.
Did they use it in Civil War? Which one
Yeah.
was? Yeah.
Like they de-aged Tony Stark.
Yes, that's the one. Yep. Because it's when he has the little
The
setup.
opening. Yeah.
Yeah, but they also used it in Ant-Man when they de-aged
For
Michael Douglas.
Yeah, which
Or
that one
Michael
didn't look
Keaton.
as bad though.
Keaton, yeah.
It's the mouth that they didn't nail. That's the big hardest part with these de-aging things is that the mouth.
But Luke proves they haven't improved it at all. Like that, as excited as people got for that, that looked really bad.
Yeah, it looked painted on.
Well,
But anyway, sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I mean, with Captain Marvel and Samuel L. Jackson, I mean, looked amazing.
Well,
was
I mean,
for
Samuel
most of
Jackson hasn't aged really in 40
No.
years anyway, so that's kind of like.
I think
easy.
most of that was makeup, to be honest with you. I think script's right.
I mean, they even tried to do it with oh crap, the guy who plays Coulson. I can't remember his name. It's escaping me right now.
Clark Gregg.
Clark Gregg, yeah.
yeah.
Who he also hasn't really aged much in the last 20 years either, because he was on a show with Julia
Samuel
Louis-Dreyfus.
Jackson hasn't aged in 40, so.
Well, I'm sure they're like Patrick Stewart. He's going to go 40 years without aging, but then he's going to make up for all of those 40 years in time.
Oh, don't remind me of that, because that's all this movie is going to be is Indiana Jones going around. I'm sorry, I'm white. Sorry, I'm old. I'll stay in my lane.
It
Well, he's most likely
belongs
gonna
in a
have a-
museum.
Most likely
I'm
going to have a
sorry.
35-year-old stunt double, in old age makeup and some dots on his face for photo mapping and doing some of the stunts. It's just insurance purposes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll take it from Natasha since she's a woman and she would know. Clark Gregg still really looks good. And yeah, Samuel Jackson's probably a vampire.
Oh, by the way, one thing that we've also needs to be emphasized. Loki, just like a little thing, the Loki series. I forgot to mention this in the recent editorial. You should check it out once we're done with this if you haven't seen it yet. Loki conclusively confirmed that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not canon to the MCU because Agent Coulson apparently really, really died, meaning Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. never happened.
Well, it already
according to the Loki
wasn't.
timeline.
Yeah, I was gonna say it already wasn't much.
It was adjacent, but even
Yeah.
within the that show, he did die, and they brought him back.
Yeah, so like around the time, like after Loki killed him, there was a period of time where they were bringing him back to life, so he was still dead. So I don't know how accurate it is to say that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't happen because.
Oh, so he was still dead. He was like, I only saw like the first season or the first two seasons, then I was out.
Loki saw him kill Coulson, but then they never said what happened a year or two afterwards, where he's brought back to life. And
Yeah, I think it would be like a really weird omission if they say, "Oh, by the way, he didn't die, and he went on to collect his team or everything." It's like it would be really, really weird for Owen Wilson not to throw that in Loki's face.
Well, didn't Kevin Feige basically say that anything that was on television prior to the Disney Plus shows wasn't canon anyway?
Yeah, he did, and this really proved that. But anyway, that's just a tangent since we somehow came up. But yeah.
But yeah, we're about to lose Matt here soon, so we should probably grab as many of these super chats that are probably directed at him before he goes.
Yeah.
I should say. We got a little more news to go, but yeah.
Indeed, and to anyone wondering, we do these super chats out of order. So if you think that we missed yours, we didn't. We just didn't get to it just yet. And then let's see. We have Super Nate who says, "Pretty sure Mangold was making fun of my name. LOL." Well, he can suck it. That was Super Nate. And 200 Watt Studio says, "Matt Kadish. What is it with Lucasfilm hiring man babies to direct their films?"
That's
a
a
quote that's attributed to you there.
That is a direct result of Kathleen Kennedy being in charge.
Yep.
Indeed.
No one that could challenge her on a logical level or a creative level. If you have an emotional, crippling aspect to you, you are prime for Kathleen Kennedy.
Well, Kathleen Kennedy's MO is she likes to hire directors that are kind of young and up and coming. She wants to mentor them, kind of shape them, but she also wants to be able to control them. And that's been her MO. And when you get a director like Ron Howard or James Mangold coming in, they're kind of very well established, so she has less control over what they do on a day-to-day basis. And so like she probably doesn't like to hire those types of people because she likes the weak, inexperienced ones that she can kind of manipulate.
Well, yeah, she puts herself in a position where that young director needs her if they want to succeed and have a future career. If you've already built your career, you technically don't need Kathleen Kennedy as much, so to speak.
Indeed. And then also Drew with Comics Elite says, how long before James Mangold jumps in this chat?
Hey, we'd have him on.
He's probably already here.
Yeah, like I should thank James Mangold. He helped me get my
He's probably
Salty Nerd channel monetized yesterday.
James, if you were listening, then reach out and we'll send you a link so you can come on. You'd be most welcome.
I would love to have a chat with the guy. I think.
For sure.
Here's the funny thing is when he was brought on, nobody's made fun of the fact that he was brought on. Everybody was just joking about how long is he going to last before he steps on KK's toes and she shit cans him. Like, that's what everybody's been saying. Nobody's been saying anything really negative about him at all. That's what's funny about this whole thing.
Yeah, other than Night and Day, I like pretty much all of his movies. So it was weird kind of him thinking that I was attacking him when I was just basically pointing out some very legitimate concerns about the movie he's making. And I can understand as a creative person wanting to defend your movie, defend your creative thing. But I think he went about it the wrong way.
Yeah, like Mr. Trickle, we've been praising his history. Like, that's the thing. It's like, sure, I've made the jokes. Do you think he's going to last less time than fucking Josh Trank or more time than the Lord and Miller? I mean, yeah, but it had nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with the revolving door of directors that KK has at Lucasfilm.
He's already outlasted Colin Trevorrow.
Very good point.
True. Indeed.
Well, they've started filming, so like he's on a ticking clock now.
Yeah, they're a couple weeks in, right? Yeah.
They got 88 days.
And we don't only have so long before Matt has to go. Yes. So another comment referencing him.
I will say right before you get to that, one of the weird things about Mangold's attacks was like he kept saying that I was attacking a movie that he hadn't even made yet. And I always find that a weird thing because a lot of his followers kind of jumped on. It's like, you can't criticize a movie that doesn't exist. But Script Doctor will probably back me up on this, where it's like that movie exists in script form. That movie exists in the form of who you've cast and what locations you stuff, like who's working on the movie. There's a lot of ways in which a movie can exist. It's just not completed yet. And so the fact that he was using this, like, my movie's not done, so you can't criticize it. It's like, well, you actually can, because it does exist in some form or another. It's just that it's not, the completed project is not out there yet. And so the idea that you can't criticize something that you haven't seen but that you're knowledgeable about, it's a little bit odd to me.
Well, not just that. It's almost like watching you ask the baker to make you some cookies and they grab fish and they grab steak and they grab salt. And you're like, wait, that's not how you make cookies. And you're like, fuck you, I'm the cook. I know what I'm doing. That's basically what it's like here. And it's, wait a minute here. And then the other side of it, it doesn't matter, because once we see it and we don't like it, they're just going to say, oh, you instantly went in. You knew you weren't going to like it. And you just hate it because you're an istophobe. So there's no winning with these people on either side of this. So it don't matter.
No, but Matthew's correct. Like, when you start a production, you're essentially grabbing all the materials that you've already allocated for it. And if some of those materials or those resources don't look up to snuff, that has justifiable reservations from anyone that sees it. It's like, hey, it's missing something important here. Like, shouldn't we be digging the foundation out before we start building on top of the soil? Like,
exactly.
So yeah, I mean, you can listen. Everything's subject to criticism. Even like producers, while movies being made, in this point, come in and be like, we got to do this differently, or this is not right, or I'm not spending money on that stupid thing. Like, that's a daily aspect of production. And then there's the post-production nightmare as well, where you realize, oh, we got to go back, we have to reshoot something, or some sort of issue happened with an actor, and they got to correct that, or bring them in, or cut them out, or superimpose another actor over another actor because we can't get this shot again. There's a whole slew of things that happen that require criticism and a critique eye in order to make it better. So yeah, the hiding behind, oh, I haven't seen it yet, or oh, I'm still making it, it's a fallacy. It doesn't actually hold water at all, because you usually, people who are speaking up are more inclined to be like, hey, maybe your head's not fully in the game here, maybe I can help you with this, even if I am a fan or a nobody on the street. Maybe I have an idea or perspective that you're missing, and I'm going to volunteer it out there, and it's the responsibility of the person who can either dismiss it and say nothing, which is usually the best course of action, or maybe it will stimulate an idea, in which case they should still say nothing and go back to their job and be like, maybe we should explore this avenue that miraculously just popped into my head. I had nothing to do with social media.
Indeed. And then Glenn Byron says, before you have to leave, thanks for the insight. Have enjoyed it. Oh, you're most welcome. We have some more super chats. Tom, I put one in the private chat that's going to require some level of innovation.
All right. Duro sends in €5. This is Matt Kadish first. It's not directed by Spielberg Mangold. Is that a personal attack or something? It wasn't made for. Oh wait, it was kind of made for you. Sorry. That's kind of how the whole argument went, but it took 12 hours for Mangold to get to that point.
He eventually ended up apologizing to me.
That's what I'm saying. Like it.
Yeah, and I think that when he that after going off for 12 hours, having a complete, I don't want to use the word spurg out, because I feel like that's probably like racist towards anyone that actually has Asperger's. But basically, then he completely went on and he had a meltdown. We can say meltdown because that's not racist towards Chernobyl.
That's better.
So he had a complete meltdown, mostly against you. Like, you were top of his shit list for a good 12 hours there, and then all of a sudden he apologizes. I submit he got a stern talking to from someone at Disney. Script doctor, is my submission correct, or could he, out of the goodness of his own heart, have decided that, what am I doing? I'm above this. I have to apologize and move on from this. Which of those two scenarios is more likely, Script Doctor?
There might also be a third scenario where he was on something during the time he started, and then
I was going to say
that would really be a trank out if that's true.
Yeah, the booze finally wore off.
That's what happened to Trank. So yeah,
but it's so weird.
I just want to say that, like, I am a huge Indiana Jones fan, and there are segments of fandom that care about the stuff that they're a fan of so much that they want to protect it. And when they see stuff that is troubling, they will criticize it. Being critical is not a bad thing. It's actually something that fans do to protect the things that they love. And just blindly accepting anything that a creative person puts out, no matter how bad it is not being a good fan. It's just being a follower. And I would love nothing more than for Indiana Jones 5 to be an amazing entry into the series. I would love it if James Mangold proved me wrong and made a fantastic Indiana Jones 5 film. I would love that, because right now I'm worried that it's not going to be a good movie. But if he comes out and delivers, I will sing his praises till the day I die, because I want a good Indiana Jones movie. That being said, I can still be critical about it up to the point where it comes out, and then I can be super critical about it. But if it's good, I will give it its props. If it's bad, I will, dissect it in much the way I do other bad movies. But this idea that true fandom just accepts whatever the people give you, that's not my definition of fandom. My definition of fandom is that you protect the stuff that you love. And right now, Lucasfilm has a bad track record of handling stuff that the fans love. And they've shown time and time again a consistent pattern of behavior in which they don't care about the fans, and they run these franchises into the ground through their own ignorance and political agendas and stuff like that, to the detriment of fans. And so going into Indiana Jones 5, after this long series of missteps with Star Wars, you can understand why I would be skeptical as to whether or not Indiana Jones 5 would be a good entry into the series. So hopefully, if James Mangold still cares about my opinion, if he's still watching this stuff and what I have to say, sir, I hope that you prove me wrong and that you make a fantastic Indiana Jones movie. I would love for that to happen.
Yeah, I think that everyone agrees with that. I mean, I think that he went and he lost a lot of fans. I don't think this thing is never going to wear it down, especially in our community, the online fan community. This thing right here, this is Tim Miller 2.0, where he
Oh,
made
yeah.
like that one thing, and it's going to follow the movie all the way up until release. And then the movie had better be deliver, because if it doesn't, this is what's going to come back to haunt it.
Yep. No, I could see it already. It's going to pop up in several videos in the future as the second chapter in the moment when we knew this movie was going to go to shit. And I brought up, like I said, how you have to go out of your way to make this movie shitty at this point, because the fourth film was so bad. Like, really, I just, Mangold has everything in his favor to just have kept his mouth shut and moved forward and got this movie done and let it speak for itself.
All he had to do. All he had to do.
Yeah.
But
so, was there any
alas,
other super chats directed at Matt, or I'm sure he has
let us see real quick. I'm just going to do a quick refresh and see if because there are many that are directed at this situation. I'm just going to see if there's some directed straight at Matt. Let's see. No, I don't think there's any more that's directed specifically at Matt. I will share this one, though. Mags says for $5. Oh, thanks, Mags. I was kind of hopeful for Indy 5. Now it's a big fat nope. Sorry, insulting the audience/fans before it comes to theaters won't get me to watch it. And yeah, that harkens back to what we just said. I don't think that this is going to be forgotten in the slightest. Also, on that note, the last millennial says for $9.99. For that, he says, "Hi, gang, it's Jacob here. I mentioned to you guys a few weeks ago that Mangold is my favorite director." Yeah, I remember that. But he continues, "But after all this drama, I don't think he's my favorite anymore. Has lost lots of respect. Gary Fukunaga is now the last millennial's new favorite director." So yeah, I don't think that Mangold did himself any favors whatsoever there. Don't think so. So yeah, and Matt, I know that you have to be leaving. But tell us again, where can people find you?
I've been putting a lot of my energy and time and effort into our weekly podcast. We basically do 3 shows a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we actually put out content on a daily basis. So Tuesdays, Thursdays, weekends, we actually put out stuff as well. But our main shows are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they're long form content. So they're hour-plus long stuff. Right now, we're doing a week-to-week review of Loki. We got our main show on Friday where we do our themed shows where we talk about a certain type of theme and 3 movies that go along with that theme. And then on Mondays, we do our focused reviews where we try to do stuff that's like new releases and things of that nature. And like I said before, it's more of a comedy show. Like we sit there, it's a couple friends just BSing about movies and TV shows and stuff like that. It's got the kind of vibe where if you're in a bar with friends talking about this stuff, that's what we're going for. And it's just meant to be kind of a fun escape from all like the heavy drama and stuff going on in the world. Like we want to entertain people and we have a lot of fun doing it, and it's meant to be funny. So you can get us as the audio only podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Google Podcasts, pretty much any place that you can listen to podcasts. We're on there. And our YouTube channel, we've been doing YouTube hardcore since January. We've got over 140 videos up there for you guys to watch if you want to check those out. And we've got a setup. We're trying to be the Tim Pool of movie review things, where like we film all 4 of us having our conversation. We kind of cut in clips from the movies that we're talking about, and we try to make it like a talk show format almost. And so like it's visually entertaining. It's something that you're going to want to watch on YouTube. And we're just having a good time doing it. And we just hit yesterday our 1,000 subscriber goal, so we can finally be monetized. And you guys have been so great in helping promote our channel and in the past and stuff like that. So we really appreciate you having us on today to talk about this stuff. And we appreciate everyone who is your subscribers and your followers who also want to support us, coming over, subscribing to our channel, checking out our content, because we work really hard at it. Like there's some YouTubers who not to discredit what they do, but they just sit in front of a webcam and kind of throw it up after they do a stream of consciousness. We sit down, we do a hardcore recording, we do editing. We try to master it so that it looks as good as possible. It's been a learning curve, so not all of our videos look as professional as they should, but the important thing is that it's fun, it's funny, it's interesting. And if you guys want to support us, just go to saltynerdvideo.com. That takes you right to our YouTube channel. You can subscribe, follow us there, watch our videos, and just let us know what you think of them and be part of our community, because we're really trying to grow it up this year. We're 6 months in, and we think that we've come a long way, and we can't wait for what the future holds.
In other words, I won't be back there anytime soon.
Oh, yeah, you will.
I'm just kidding.
And yes, so the links for all of that is, of course, in the description. And Accidental Tourist states he just subscribed. So now you've got the Houseman one. So,
thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And also, something we also appreciate is, Matt, you taking the time to come here and join us.
Well, as always, thank you so much for
more subscribers. So awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I'm always amazed that you guys actually care about what I have to say enough to feature me on your little live streams. But now that Hollywood knows where the opinion's at, you guys are ahead of the curve. So.
Yeah.
Well, you've always been a good friend and of us and the channel, and as far as your channel goes, congratulations on hitting 1,000.
Thank you.
But remember, folks, that doesn't do as much as the watch hours. He needs to get the watch hours too. So get over there, check out these guys' content. They're a really good group. They do some good stuff. And like I said, I've popped up a few times before, so you never know when I'll pop up again. And so check it out.
We're good if you want something playing in the background, because a lot of our shows are an hour and a half to 2 hours long. Or if you have a long drive or commute to work, you can listen to our podcast on YouTube or Spotify or whatever your preferred podcast platform is. And we fill those long travel gaps very well, especially because we have close to 100 episodes of our main show out and close to like 300 episodes in total. So a lot of content to be consumed. And even if you don't like the movie we're talking about or haven't seen the movie we're talking about, it's more about our reaction to it, because Matt Vader is very salty. Alex is very salty. my girlfriend is crazy. So we have a lot of very entertaining conversations.
Speaking of, tell her hello, and the rest of the crew, of course. But real quick, what did you think of Loki episode 1?
I actually really liked it. I have to go back and rewatch it and kind of break it down a little bit. But after Winter Soldier, this was like a breath of fresh air for me. So.
Oh, but
so basically, what you're saying is that Falcon and the Winter Soldier was so incredibly bad that your expectations have been lowered to the point that
is exactly what I am saying.
Yes. Whereas in my case, I just thought it was horrendous because I missed out on Falcon and Winter Soldier in its entirety. But deliberately, I might add, because I could see right away how horrendous that was. So
we're going to drop our first Loki review on Wednesday, and so we'll probably have a lot of different opinions on the podcast about it.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty. That's you have a conversation with different opinions. So that's the awesome thing about that.
Yeah, we get a lot of different views on the Salty Nerd podcast, and it's kind of funny because there's something for everyone to agree with. Like if you agree with me, you might disagree with Alex and Vader, or if you agree with Jude, you might disagree with me. So there's something for everyone on the show, which is what makes it fun, because we're not all in lockstep with one another. We argue and we make fun of each other, and we give each other a hard time over our choices.
Exactly. Well, that's how it is supposed to be. So that's brilliant. With that, Matt, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's always fun to get to hang with you.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
I wish I could be on longer, but I've got other stuff.
No problem. And you always possibility you may pop up on Midnight's Edge After Dark sometime too. So check this out over there as well, and check out the Salty Nerd podcast. They do good stuff. So
thank you guys so much.
Yes.
Also buy his books. He made Earthman Jack.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to see how good of a writer I am or how bad of a writer I am, you can check out my books at kadishbooks.com.
Yeah, well, there's so many of them suggests that you're a pretty decent writer. So
there you go.
All right, guys, I'll catch you later.
See you soon. Take care, buddy.
Excellent. Bye. Take care.
Before we get back into super chats, I got a tweet here that might scare us.
Okay.
It's not fucking.
You got me worried now.
It's not like, well, not like that bad, but like it's Kevin Smith. So.
I was afraid of that. I was like thinking, it's He-Man. Oh crap, it's He-Man.
Yeah, it's He-Man. Sorry, I was trying to make.
He-Man.
Okay, yeah, it's worse than you thought, I guess.
Yeah.
I hope
Exactly.
I hope he's fucking kidding with this. This guy asked, "Can't wait for Masters of the Universe. I can feel how inspired the project is from that pitch perfect trailer. Thanks, Kevin Smith." Kevin came back with, in honor of the era in which Masters official began, each of the 5 episodes in part 1 of our series homages different 80s flicks. I don't think he's kidding. Episode 1 is Superman 2. Episode 2 is Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom. Episode 3 is Batman. Episode 4 is Hellraiser. Fine so far. Episode 5, Masters of fucking Universe. That would be like a carbon copy of a carbon copy of a carbon copy.
Oh, I'm not too worried. Okay, you had me scared there. Like, this doesn't worry me.
Episode 5 does.
Really?
Really? Okay. Well, yeah, but then I guess that maybe Skeletor is going to be parading around in the middle of the night with no one watching in Dumpwater, Florida.
If anything, it says,
yes, so yeah.
Like Master of the Universe, He-Man wins at the end, so that's good.
I'm really excited about episode 4 that's going to reference Hellraiser.
That's
it's going to be heavy.
curiosity.
That piqued my curiosity right there.
I bet that's going to be a heavy Evil Lynn episode.
But
no.
Okay, well, you just oh my god, that blew my mind. Heavy Evil Lynn episode.
Yeah, I bet you. Well, Superman 2, I can understand. It's going to be the two big bad guys against the big bad guys against the big bad guys. It's good guys. Yeah, lots of power. And then Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, and this is why I like
Temple of Doom.
Yeah, it's going to be something more dark and whatever. But like he did the same kind of shit with Clerks the animated series. That's why I buy it.
Well, I'm perfectly content with that. So there's many things I'm worried about with that series, but this ain't among them. So yeah.
Well, there was another report come out that said that it's
okay. I just felt good now. You had to go and tear that down.
Okay, fine. You feel good. I'm not so sure about this 1987 fucking.
Well, neither am I when I think about it. It could be like they could bring in Gwildor, maybe they bring in the Cosmic Key or some bullcrap like that. I don't know.
Robert Duncan McNeil and Courtney Cox lend their voices to their characters. I don't know, like what's going to happen there. They go to Earth.
There's a very very little that you can reference from that movie and have it turn out good. I will grant you that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they have Frank Langella come in or something. That would be pretty sweet.
You give Kevin too much fucking faith, man.
No, it's denial. Like it's all I have.
Denial and morbid
it's not
curiosity.
Denial if you admit it. Anyway.
Again, I don't care about Star Wars. What happens with that? But this thing freaking matters to me.
You don't think it matters to me? I was gonna say, geez.
I'm sure it does, but I have fucking enough worrying about myself. Thank you very much.
I know. I'm hoping it's good too, but I'm just like, fuck. Like the last directors I want touching this shit is the showrunner, and anyway, Mr. Tickle Trunk. Look, a Dolph Lundgren character shows up. 10 out of 10.
Okay, if they have Dolph Lundgren come in and he gives the voice to King Grayskull, amazing.
It won't happen. You're thinking too much like we would.
Yeah.
Kevin, don't get into this shit. Like the most we can hope for is he actually watched some shows and he actually dug into some good He-Man comics. That's the most we can hope for. I'd be
fine if he just saw the entirety of the 2002 series. I'd be happy with that.
Or that actually better off, but I don't think he did. I don't think it's going to really reference that at all. But I could be. I hope I'm wrong. I'm just going to say that.
Well, the beauty is, like, if it references the 2002 series, no one's going to know the difference because that was such a perfect distillation of Filmation anyway.
Well, yeah, it's the way like I've said, it's almost the way I would set up a trilogy of movies.
Yeah.
And the sad part is that there's that stupid separation with She-Ra, but whatever, you don't need her. Let them go fucking ruin that property for all.
Well, they already did, so it's too late for that.
Yeah, it's too late for that.
That actually disappointed me because I dug She-Ra a lot. She was a cool character.
Me too.
Yeah,
It's
me too. I also like
much
She-Ra.
more interesting and I've said this many times before. She's a much more interesting character than Prince Adam ever was.
Yeah, like she was evil, went to the good side, started. It's like she's in a battle where
She's a spy.
She's a spy, but again, she's part of a very small rebellion against a giant empire of Hordak. Like it's a very hopeless like situation, yet she manages to pull it out every time.
Well, that's
and
what's so
it's
cool
fun.
about it.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm
It's not
saying.
like two superpowers fighting each other. It's one superpower and one struggling rebellion to.
It would be like if He-Man was doubling as Beast Man.
Yeah, there would be that too.
That's what I'm saying. Like
That would actually be hilarious.
that's what I'm saying. You have this whole, and that's what pissed me off about that series when I went off of my original rant is like She-Ra has so much more shit you can get into than He-Man ever did, but you need He-Man for She-Ra to work. And that's the beauty of it is she's raised as a bad guy, but yet she has her whole world flipped upside down on her. And in the process of it, she's instead of, changing things, she like works as a spy basically. And she also has the whole She-Ra thing going on at the same time. It's this really cool dynamic, and there's a lot more characters involved, and sure the world's a bit more cutesy, but instead of doing a more adult, cooler version of that, they went the opposite direction, which and then they wonder why it failed. But anyway, Dash D says now that Orko is a strong independent female thing, her magic.
I think that Orko probably goes by the pronouns they them.
So Theiko uses their magic to get out of jail free card. They win all the time. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
If Orko's figured out the magic by then, because that was part of his gimmick. Is
how do you fuck up Orko?
Well, don't ask such questions because you may get them answered. But yeah, anyway, we're about to go through
Orko is one of the
chats before we
sidekicks that I didn't find uber annoying back in the day.
No, Orko, he was the second best Orko of all the 80s comics. Like I would like to say that like in the 80s, you had like these stereotypical characters that went by, and I called them all the Orkos. Like Snarf and all of those, to me, that's just an Orko. They're all Orkos.
Right.
All of those characters, right? There was one series which had the best Orko. And that was Jace and the Wheeled Warriors. I forget the name of that little robot thing, but that was the best Orko of all of them.
Well, and I think this actually starts more from the Flintstones. What the hell is that thing called that kept buzzing around? I can't think of it.
Hell if I know.
The Great Gazoo or whatever. That was like the original one.
Yeah, okay, fine. So he was Orko before there was an Orko.
He's Orko.
Still all Orko.
Patient Zero. But no, you're right, because Orko is where it's like it's at its peak. Slimer, I guess you can get away with just because Slimer can barely talk. Because Slimer was just kind of like Orko's lesser cousin, I guess.
Again, he was like the last Orko, I guess.
I don't know about that, but he was the least annoying of the continuation of them.
Oh, Luffy is called. Oh, my fellow Norwegian remembers. His name was Una. Yeah, there we go. That might be right. That was a great series.
Yeah,
Script. Why has no one done anything more with Jason the Wheeled Warriors?
That's a good question.
I do know exactly why. Because Greta Thunberg would be upset. Because it's machines on the quest to destroy plants.
Scrappy Doo is not an Orko so much as he is a cousin Oliver. But no, they all fall in the same category. That's for sure. But anyway.
Yeah, we have some more news stories to cover, and if we don't, then Tom better find some real quick. And before we got into the super chats, I want to address some quick things in the community. Fear is the Mind Killer upgraded his membership, so thanks for that. And Alexander Grum just became a member and went straight to Edgelord. So thank you so much for that. Really appreciate that. And while we also address community, there is someone else that I also would like to give a shout out to. I'm going to share my screen here. Just give me 1 second so I can find the right thing here. Yes, here is a fundraiser for someone who needs your help. It's Bird of Prey 5, who is wheelchair bound. This last year has been rough on everyone, and it's of course been especially rough on anyone who is disabled, because income might not be coming in as before, help might not be coming in as before. And Bird of Prey, he needs some wheels. More specifically, he needs a wheelchair, and this is not going to come out of empty nothingness. So he needs your help. So for that reason, I have put the link to his GoFundMe in the description of this video. So go and read about it, and support. If you have a few dollars that you can spare, then go help out Bird of Prey to get a new wheelchair so that he can get around.
He's been getting kicked more and more and more. No matter what he does lately, it seems like he's actually in a situation right now where he health-wise, he needs a lot of help. Gary and stuff brought it up last week, and I think they may have been getting in contact with some people, but that's the thing, is he can't leave his house. It's really difficult, and he's got a heart issue right now that's very serious. So any little bit right now will help a lot, I'm sure. So I know it's tough for everybody right now, but this guy is somebody who's a great friend of the community. He's always been around. I've been on his show a few times. He's been on Midnight's Edge After Dark. He's a very good friend of the community, and anything that can help. Yeah. Are they still looking for a cardiologist, Red Tigress? I know there was some progress, but I haven't been kept up to date on everything. So I know there's videos on his channel that explain everything he's dealing with, so I'm not going to get into all of the details here, but yeah, I see there's a lot of love for Bird of Prey in the chat. Definitely do what you can to help him out. So it's definitely a good cause. I think we lost Andre because we had a
No, I'm right here.
Okay.
So yeah, we're going to leave that on screen while I go through a couple of more of the classic super chats. Now, these are super chats that I can't get up on screen, so you're just going to have to listen and see if you can't help out a little bit there. Now, classic super chats. Stephen Otten said for $10, "Hail Andre, Tom, Matt, Wrenches, and Midnighters. If a major Hollywood studio does not want us to watch their movies, then I will oblige them. At least now I know what spurging off means." Yes, indeed. But use the term meltdown instead. That's
I shouldn't be using it, but my kid uses it himself, so whatever.
Yeah, well, it's okay, but it's okay in his case. It's kind of like,
Yeah, I know I shouldn't.
Yeah.
But,
and Pilgrim Media says, just watch any Mangold interview, and it's obvious what an SJW he is.
Oh, that's
so yeah,
clear.
I haven't had the pleasure, but being of that mindset.
I was gonna say, Script, you've commented on this before, and I'm sure you know part of the reason you're incognito is because the way that Hollywood and the industry treats people with different types of political beliefs, and you almost have to like jump on this train or even pretend at some points, it seems like.
In some cases, it's that. The other part too is and a lot of people just don't like any sort of counter argument or point of view. You could even be politically aligned with many of them and just be of a slightly different opinion or a slightly different criticism, and that can do a lot of damage to your standing in that community. So yeah, it's a series of weird. Some parts are just business relationships. Other parts are something akin to a cult. I'm being a little hyperbolic there, but some days you're just like, why are people all touting the exact same talking?
You're not wrong, though. We even see it somewhat in this community where it's like, people get surprised if, one of us gets into a disagreement or we don't all agree on. So it's like, it's not an echo chamber, folks. And that's the last thing we want.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're going to have people not agree on everything all the time. And the last thing I want is like, you and I have disagreed on things before, but we don't sit there and go, well, fuck you, I'm never talking to you again. And that's the way these people act is like, you're right. Is like, as soon as you say something that goes against their That's funny because they're the first one to call you a bigot, but that's the definition of a bigot, you know. But anyway, we're going to get down that road. But anyway, we have more super chats. Continue, Andre.
Yeah, indeed. And just to take a quick break from the classics to the ones we can bring up on screen, Golgo13, aka Brandon the Infinite Wolf, says, "This is why I choose to be part of this community. We help our friends. Cheers, y'all, and thanks for being such good friends." Cheers, y'all. No, cheers to all of you that make this community what it is.
Well, yeah, and Bird of Prey, I mean, just the hand he was dealt is not fair at all. So like the least you guys can do is more than helpful. So I know things are tough all over, like I said, but anything will help right now because he's dealing with so much shit. It's not even fair.
Yeah. And the Rookie Critic also says, "As someone that hasn't seen He-Man before, the trailer looked pretty good. If it turns out to go down the woke path, they did a decent job hyping it." Yes, the trailer is mind-blowing. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better trailer for a He-Man revival. It's everything I would have wanted from a trailer. I just hope that the series lives up to it. Beyond the first episode. But as far as trailers go, kudos to whoever cut it. And then moving on with the classic super chats. Just have to go back to where we were because I lost that there. Fantastic. Yeah, here we are. Stephen Otten says, "Tom, putting together a puzzle in the dark can be done. It just takes a lot of concentration," in reference to putting together the editorial that is now out. And yeah, it could be done. It just took a lot of concentration and a bit of time, didn't it? But it was all well worth it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I hate it when we run into those issues, though. Those what makes take the longest, especially when they're long to begin with.
Exactly. And Hypergiver 2 says, "This is why Ghostbusters Afterlife is going to succeed. The Reitmans are making it clear that they are fans and love the fans."
Well,
Yeah,
in this
very
case,
good.
I think we've got, Ivan Reitman and Dan Aykroyd, I think, have made it well known that they weren't too happy with the last movie. And the last thing they need right now is to piss off any more fans. Jason Reitman has proved himself in his own right. Pun. So there may be some nepotism involved, yes, but at the same time, it's like there's no better person to take over this job. And I don't know if Script would argue with me on that one, but I know you have probably a thing or two to say about it.
I think he's an appropriate choice. He's been with Ghostbusters since the very beginning, even as a kid. I'm disappointed I don't have any say in being able to write it because I that's one of the things I would love to have done. But I really hope he comes at it with the same direction and approach that the original kind of team sort of has, and that he gives us something really great. And so far, he hasn't done anything to the contrary. And if you check out any of the Ghost Core channels that are on YouTube and even some of the social media stuff, they show Jason Reitman's own excitement of like going back and rediscovering lost footage and jokes and scripts and story ideas of the original Ghostbusters and some Ghostbuster 2 stuff. That the excitement he has is quite genuine and very much in line with a lot of the other, Ghostbuster fans. So you've kind of got a really good kismet relationship right now, and I'm hoping it ends up being a very successful thing. And for the Canadians up here, this Remembrance Day, November 11th, that's when the movie's going to debut, and I am definitely going to be there opening night.
There you go.
Right, very cool. And then moving on, Silver Nova says they need to take to Twitter and they need to take to Twitter and insinuate people are basement dwellers. Shows a lack of professionalism that is all too common these days. Yeah, I agree so much. Actually, I've made a video about that. Bemoaning the lack of professionalism among Marvel comic book writers in particular. but it seems to be pretty wide throughout the creative industries. And maybe some people should be having Twitter accounts if they can't control themselves, because it's not just that they make themselves look bad, they're actually hurting the product of the bill payers. Now, in this case, it's Disney and it's Lucasfilm, and it's a movie that no one really asked for, but still the principle stands. He is gambling someone else's investment and someone else's money and Disney shareholder value and all of that, just because he felt the need to go after Matt Kadish, simply making some statements of facts on Twitter.
Well, it's repeating history. You would think that somebody would be like, whoa, 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 whoa. You're repeating the same thing that you did with fucking Star Wars. Stop. Time out. We don't need this one going down the tubes too, because Lord knows you're only going to get one or two more things out of this.
Exactly.
I mean, Indiana Jones ain't going to last forever. Come on, kids.
It's on overtime already, if anything.
Exactly. So I would think that I think that you're right. I think somebody called him and said, what the fuck are you doing?
That's what I'm thinking. I would be shocked. Like, yeah, it could be that whatever he was on passed, or maybe his manic stage passed, or I don't know, but I'm more inclined to believe that Monday morning happened and someone in Disney's disaster relief team or crisis management or whatever were on the phone and came to his house and told him, stop what you're doing. Here we have a statement. All you have to do is just copy and paste this, and then we'll talk on Monday. That's what I think happened. I could be wrong, but I'm inclined to believe it had to be something like that, because there ain't no way Disney is going to stand by and watch a director of 100 million feature of theirs make a complete ass out of himself on Twitter for very long without doing anything about it. I mean, Disney, they have a social media clause in there, don't they?
The only other thing I can, yeah, exactly. And the only other thing I can see on this, and this is just a roundabout, like weird possibility, and that is he doesn't feel in control of this production. And he's acting out because people are shitting on it, and it's things that he can't control. So it's, you know, I understand. I'm not saying I condone it, but I understand to a point where his frustrations are coming from, possibly, if that's the case. And you could have that. You've got George Lucas still hovering around, even though he's not a major part of things. He's still a big part of Disney now that he's one of the major shareholders. This is his baby. Spielberg handed his baby over to you after he made a shit movie. So you think Spielberg would want to like at least kind of make up for that. Nope, he walked away. So you have that strike right there. Otherwise, why would you go after somebody like Matt? Even if he did, because I don't believe that he thought Matt was any kind of journalist up front. I really don't. I think that was him trying to cover himself a little bit down the road.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think he just went after Matt and probably a bunch of other fans, but it just so happened that Matt was somebody who is in a community, and just so happened that, you know, he had people to back his ass up. And I'm sure there's a lot of other fans who may not have, who got really fucking shit on. I can't prove this, but I'm wondering. I'm going to go look maybe and see, but I think he deleted a lot of the evidence now. So again, he apologized, but to me, it's too little too late. You shit the bed already. This is, I think you're right, Andre. This is that signature moment, just like when Tim Miller said what he said, just like everything that happened with Ghostbusters, everything that happened with The Last Jedi, like Rian Johnson going out there and saying, you know, everything from your Snoke theory sucks to all the accusations that were thrown by everybody, including the media. This is that moment that will define this movie now. You're right. Unless this movie knocks it out the fucking park. So it has to now. It can't just be better than Crystal Skull. It has to be as good as the other Indiana Jones movies now, or it's done. He done fucked this whole thing up right here. This is the moment.
Yeah, Script, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it could be that. Could be some stress getting to him with regards to the shoot. I'm just perusing some of his tweets now because I only really saw the initial two, so and then made my own little thing on the side.
He went on for like 12 hours, dude.
But yeah, it seems to me like he may have been in an altered state and probably because the accusation about a journalist or the implying of him being a journalist, I think that's more like a not fully paying attention to what's going on in front of him. And the other part too is only a few weeks into production, and already he's getting outsiders criticizing his work. That's also gonna hurt the ego quite a bit as well. So I think he definitely dug his own grave on this one here. It's up to him to climb his way out and assuage any counter arguments to what he's doing. Because again, we do know he's a competent and effective director. I did like 3:10 to Yuma. I thought that was a pretty good remake. Listen, this is not as common as we like to think it is. Again, out of all the directors in the industry, we've got a handful now that have made these types of claims and are following this very peculiar playbook for some odd reason. And I wish there was a very easy answer as to why they think this is a good idea. It just boggles my mind. It never seems like a good idea.
Well, I don't think that he thought it through. I do not think that he did any kind of, shall we call it, 4D chess or even a regular 3D chess, where you have to think a couple of steps ahead. I don't think that he ever thought of okay, if I put this in a tweet and I start insulting this guy, what's going to happen after that? How is he going to respond? And then how am I going to respond to that? And how can this escalate? And how is Disney's crisis management team going to respond to that? I don't think that he ever thought that thought. I think that, again, maybe he was in, shall we say, altered state of mind or whatever. I think he was just there. I think that he was browsing the Indiana Jones 5 hashtag, and then he came across Matt, and he's like, well, this little I'm going to show him. I think it's as simple as that.
Could be, yeah.
That's what I was saying before, is I think he had a rough week. I'm not so sure that these quote-unquote leaks of the paparazzi were actual leaks, because there's a lot. There are so many of them out there. It's like, this just seems too convenient. And I don't think the response is what they were expecting.
I think there's you have paparazzi that do that. You have many sites like Just Jared and other stuff like that have people that go and look and take pictures, and then they drop them and they get loads of money from selling those pictures elsewhere and putting on sites, stuff like that. I don't necessarily buy that these are deliberate things that they have put out. It could be, but I don't think so.
There's just too many of them.
If they have a person in there who's at the liberty to snap a ton of pictures, but again, you could be right. But
we didn't get anything like this coming out of Star Wars, is my point.
Well, but the Star Wars was filmed inside of a studio. We got even
not
more
all of
pictures.
It. Hey, bullshit, because J.J. Abrams took a green screen to the fucking desert.
Well, that's the other part too. There's not a whole lot of photographers really want to go to the desert.
No, I know, but
I would say that this entire relationship, this behavior, reminds me of the movie Chef with Jon Favreau, and it just feels like he's got to work his way out. And I actually also recommend watching that movie. It's a good movie, but the guy had a bad week. He made a mistake online, and it's hurting his reputation, and now he's got to kind of right the ship if he's smart, which I still think that James Mangold is a very intelligent guy, and even though he may be a jerk, if he's smart, he will figure out a way to right this ship and get people on board. But it's not going to be easy. We based on that 12-hour rant, so to speak, and the response we're seeing across social media platforms on this, it's going to be a very difficult mountain to climb.
Yeah, indeed. With that, let's move on with a couple more super chats. On the topic of altered state of mind, Dash D's says, cocaine is a wonderful thing, makes you an a-hole and lets you stay up longer to prove it to everyone. Please add relevance here. And Mr. Tickletrunk says, Mangold is a good director. This is a shame.
Yeah.
James P. says, he said there is more to Indiana Jones than getting beat up and dragged behind a truck. That is more proof they don't understand Indiana Jones.
Wouldn't that be
Drew,
proof that they do understand Indiana Jones? Because if they're saying he's more than the action set pieces, which is true,
yeah.
that's
Again,
a
I
little
don't think
tricky
that,
one to do. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think there's absolutely more to it. But have they gotten the right things from it with Kathleen Kennedy running the show? That, of course,
Yeah. Does
is a
Kathy
completely different story.
Exactly. Does Kathy believe that Indiana Jones is only the action set pieces and not the
And
character?
you know what the problem is with James Mangold? Yeah, he has made some really, really good movies. But you know what he does when he gets a character like Wolverine? Because he did 2 Wolverine movies. Everyone praises Logan, and I agree that's really, really good. But he did the Wolverine before that, and few movies have dropped the ball as badly in the third act as that one. And what both of those movies did was deconstruct Wolverine. None of them were kind of like the Wolverine movies that fans have always wanted. They were good movies, but if you haven't seen them, and you were told to imagine what's the ultimate Wolverine movie, no one would have come up with those 2, because he deconstructs. And imagine, so here we then have a movie by Kathleen Kennedy having ultimate creative oversight, headed by a director who deconstructs. Just judging from what he's done before, I think we're going to get deconstructed Indiana Jones, meaning that there has to be some kind of understanding of the character involved. But will it be the right kind of understanding? And how will they change him in that deconstructing? Those, I think, are the key questions in terms of what they might be doing.
No, those are good questions, because that touches on the whole No Country for Old Men theme. And that could be a factor in this, given that pattern.
Yeah. And No Country for Old Men is a great freaking movie. And Lord knows how many times I have been told that I sound like Anton Chigurh, and look like him too. But that is not anything that in any way, shape, or form should serve as any kind of inspiration for Indiana Jones.
Yeah, not unless there's some sort of revelation where, his mentality is like, no, I was still right about what it is, and I am able to adjust with the times and so far, because that's a complicated thing to address for such a type of hero.
Yeah, indeed. And Meta Random just sent us in a super sticker, so thank you so much for that. That's much appreciated. And with that, we are returning to the classic super chats. Silver Nova says, in order to appear in movies 30 years from now, Harrison Ford will have to be wheeled out in a tank like a third stage guild navigator. Don't give them ideas. You never know what's going to happen there, but yeah. And Willie Woodward says for $9.99, as I replied to Mangold, I'm surprised someone that experienced would be as insecure about making a production. I thought it was just me, and he showed how not to respond to criticism. He did indeed. And maybe it was altered states of minds. Maybe he was just really, really stressed because he's feeling the pressure. Maybe things didn't work out as they hoped they would. Maybe they didn't get the shots they were supposed to get this week. Maybe the dailies are horrendous. We don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm sure. But I think there must be some level of stress there. I do think. Yeah, I think you're right.
It would be stressful. I mean, Indiana Jones is a legacy. It's you got to top the one before it, and actually you have to do worse. It's harder. You got to beat the Raiders. You got to do better than Raiders, because again, the Crystal Skull not well received. So yeah, the only thing you can do is try to rate yourself against the best of the franchise, and that's an undertaking I do not wish on anyone. It's tough.
Yeah. And then We have Troy Pacelli, who says, "This is no different than Andre's most recent comment on Loki. These people keep making the same mistakes over and over. Maybe they can't learn." And Merlin's Id says, "I think when these directors lash out on Twitter, it's to preempt any criticism they know they will receive. Woke is trash, and they know it." Well, in this case, I don't think he did very good with preempting anything at all. On the contrary, he just fed what's going to be the recurring attacks against the movie. So, yeah, good going there.
I mean, he should have expected this. I mean, even any director who's stepping into the role of another director who had directed the 4 previous films, and not only that, is the most well-known director of all time, of course you were going to expect something like this. You should have just shut it off, man. Just shut it off.
Yeah, don't be on Twitter. Problem solved.
Well, I mean, seriously. I mean, you said it best in your tweet response script. It's like, dude, everybody knows you're not Steven Spielberg. Okay, take it from that angle. Use that to your advantage. Be like, look, yeah, I'm a huge fan. I'm upset Steven's not directing, but guess what? There's nobody better than me because I'm a fan and I think I can do a good job. And I hope you think so on July fucking whatever the hell it is, 2023, this movie finally comes out.
And Erik Runge Madsen in the comments, he has a great comment here, and he says, "In my army days, when someone lost it, the sergeant would give them a 10-kilo anti-tank mine in their backpack. That's more than 20 pounds for anyone not using metric. We called it the Tude kicks, whining biscuits. Mangold might need one."
Well, look, I mean, I'll look at it from this perspective. It's not like the guy's under a shit ton, and that's kind of what I was just saying. The guy's under a shit ton of pressure. I get that. You know, you took on the next biggest franchise in the Lucasfilm roster and arguably one of the top probably 10 franchises of all time at least.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. And
I mean, we already know the opening shot's going to suck because it's not going to transition from the Paramount Mountain to whatever.
Well, that's a good point, too. And I brought that up before once, too. Yeah. And then the other part of it is, look, okay, let's say for the sake of argument, I'm definitely fucking dead ass wrong. And there's a shit ton of paparazzi getting on the set and fucking snapping all these photos. And he didn't want them out there. Maybe that's part of what set him off here. Is he's pissed that all this shit's getting out there right away. And he just started filming. I can understand that, too. But the last thing you should do is get on fucking Twitter and start whining to fans or shitting on fans and especially punching down at fans. That's the part that bothers me. And anybody who sticks up for that behavior, I'm sorry, but I wholeheartedly disagree. Sorry. That's all I'm going to say on that. I'm done.
Yeah. And then Meta Random also points out that KK doesn't promote a creative environment.
I've heard that.
Yeah, this is a recurring, something of a recurrent comment. And Film School Rookie says for $4.99, thank you so much. "As a new director, this is a great lesson to be super careful about what I post online. Don't want to kill my film by default." Yes, indeed, like anyone who is like involved in creating anything, not really anyone, because like you have an employer, like many people do at least. I know fewer people have that now after the events of the last year and a half, but still, you're always, very often, you are representing more than just yourself, which is why one always has to be careful about what one posts in social media. I mean, that stuff is dangerous, and it can always come back to haunt you. I mean, just look at how you have like people now that are being held accountable and canceled for something they posted when they were teenagers a decade ago. And it doesn't even have to be anything that bad. So just be careful with putting yourself out there. I mean, seriously, social media is bad. You'd be better off without it. But if you have to have it, be careful in using it. Think twice before posting.
Well,
or
and we got
tweeting or
a
whatever.
super chat we can bring up on screen here. And I know Stay York is probably being facetious here, but if after less than a month of listening to KK's BS, he feels the need to attack fans, maybe someone should check on his wife and kids soon. Well, like I said, I know you're being facetious, but actually he's been on this now for like what, almost 6-7 months or more than that, almost a year. Because this was announced he was part of this, because Spielberg, let me see, I know it was last year sometime, if not long.
Yeah, it was sometime last year that we learned Spielberg was not directing.
Oh, he's probably been there for. I'm sure he's been there for more than a year already. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there's a long pre-production period before cameras actually start rolling, and now cameras are rolling. So he will have been there in the planning stage for a very long
over a
time
year
already.
ago.
Yeah,
almost
exactly.
a year ago. Roughly.
Exactly.
Spielberg left in February, and I can't find when they announced Mangold because all the new shit's taking over the news feed. But
yeah,
I remember it wasn't long after that.
Yeah, but still, this is a professional thing, so let's not mix any of his private things into it.
Right.
He
That's
has
what I'm saying. Yeah,
good handle on that. But professionally, it's professionally that he failed in tweeting this. Let's all keep it professional and attack him for that, and not anything else. Then we have Orville Nation, good fans of the channel, go check them out, who says for $10, love my Midnight's Edge. Many thanks Andre and Tom for helping get the word out with Bird of Prey 5's GoFundMe. You guys are awesome. Oh, thank you so much. And it's the least we can do, of course. We'll help spread the word when someone needs it. Least we can do. And Wassapalooza the Drunk sent us $20. Thank you so much. There was no message to that super chat, but we thank you for the support anyway.
Unless Google got rid of it.
Unless Google redacted it, that's always a possibility. But in either event, we thank you. And then Notto says for $10, imagine if he had responded something like, hey guys, we're working hard on this film and hope it will be something you love. Reserve judgment while we work. See you at the theater. Yeah, exactly. As been before, something as that, that's the professional response.
Don't even have to say the reserve your judgment part. Like that even almost is kind of standoffish. You just kind of say just say something like, we hope we can live up to your expectations, or we hope we exceed your expectations. Things like that are a little bit more inviting than, even something like that, because that's kind of...
Exactly, but I see Notto's point though. The point he's making.
Oh no, he's right. He's right, totally.
Yeah.
But my point is even the least standoffish thing you want to avoid, especially in this situation, and that was what I was getting to before, is Mangold should know that he's in this position. I mean, he took on Logan and Wolverine, which were the 6th and 8th fucking movies in the X-Men franchise.
The Wolverine was made deliberately so people would forget Wolverine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's kind of been in this position before. He should know. You just kind of keep your nose down. You do the job, and rewards will come.
Yeah, indeed. And then we have Tsukiyomi99, who says, I do not care how good your movie is when you insult the fans. I'm not going to support your work. I think that many feel it that way. And 200 Watt Studio says, my problem with de-aging Indy is that I will know that they de-aged him for the film. I know this is a CGI 78-year-old man. Oh, you're definitely going to know it with Disney's proprietary de-aging software, which kind of sucks compared to the completely free deep faking technology. But yeah.
Well, don't worry. About a year after the movie hits digital or Blu-ray or what have you, someone's going to deep fake a cut for it. That's going to look better.
Yeah, well, I hope they're going to do it for the whole thing, so you can now, instead of just one scene.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Get off my set.
And Swinging Cod sent us a triptymon of super chats, 3 for $5 each. Thank you so much. And there he says, going through them all, de-aging will be during World War II, when Indy screws up and allows the Glocke to be launched because he is being cocky over a woman's warnings. It will continue in 1965. After the time-traveling Nazis come back, Marianne will have left Indy, and Phoebe's character will shame him back in. She will constantly be saving him until the end, when he sacrifices himself to save Phoebe, but it will be shown she had it handled all along. Yeah,
I don't think you're too far off there. There's
probably
things
not
I've
too far
heard
off.
that are kind of along those lines.
Yeah, we've heard many different things. Some of them potentially exciting, most of it less so.
Yeah, we already know Mickelson's supposed to be playing like a Von Braun type character.
Yeah.
We've seen the leaked images.
Only probably evil, but yeah.
Yeah, so there's
which I'm sure that plenty people could say with good reason that he was. So there's a case to be made for that, but yeah.
But no, I don't think that synopsis is too far off from what I've heard anyway.
Yeah. And the Mega Wing Zero says for $5, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Netflix Marvel is officially better than Disney Plus Marvel. At this point, I'd have to agree based on what I've seen of it. Yeah,
I would say first season Daredevil's really good.
Some of the best TV ever made.
I mean, production-wise, yes. Story-wise, a little iffy here and there, but great performances. I mean, forgetting his name, but who plays
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Vincent D'Onofrio, thank you. Just he steals every scene he's in.
So
way
good.
more interested in him than I was in Charlie Cox's Daredevil, but that's no slight against Charlie Cox. He did well as well. But yeah, I would say the writing team on those shows are far superior to what we're getting with the current ones. Heck, even the showrunner of Loki, he's a very green writer. He's only been around for a little bit.
I regret that I didn't study up on everything he had done before doing that editorial. I have to say, because that was. Have you had a time to see my editorial on that on Loki yet?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I will. I only have one. Not really a critique, but I do know what they're trying to do with the TVA, and it's not to say that everything up into the end of the Infinity Saga is nothing or to be tossed away. They're trying to set up that the TVA is a far greater power and threat than the Infinity Stones. The effectiveness to which they conveyed that, it was actually poor, and that probably has to do with the fact that Michael Waldron is not that experienced of a screenwriter within the industry
or a public speaker.
Well, he talks like a bunch of producers, and that's much different than a writer who then gets a producing credit. So he speaks the way producers speak to each other, and especially in some of the interviews I've seen of him, he talks like how a producer talks to a bunch of writers and other people, with crude language, not very articulate, just getting to the point and get out type of stuff. That's not going to be in his favor. But hopefully he has a better writing staff with him, because this premise of a show really needs to stick the landing if it's going to work, and that's a very hard thing to do.
Exactly, and I would agree with that completely. That I kind of see what they're going for, but I disagree immensely with their execution of it. And if someone behind the scenes make a rushed statement like, well, that's all bullshit, now this is the real deal, and they use that as a shorthand, I have no issues with that if it's done behind the scenes. But when you say that same statement in a live interview, where you then basically, which is what he did, we started.
Well, he said he wanted to make it look. He said he wanted to make it look like bullshit in comparison to the TVA. That's a very different context than just saying it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But he did not. I mean, again, that's what talking.
That's what I mean. If they have that as a shorthand in conversations behind the scenes, I have absolutely no issue with it. But every single time he talks in front of a live mic, he makes a public statement, and and if he can't make those distinctions there, then maybe he shouldn't be put in front of a live mic. I mean,
Agreed,
there's no shame in him not going in front of a live mic. He doesn't have to. As a lead writer, if they don't think that he has what it takes to answer questions in a diplomatic way, where he's not going to put stuff like that out there, then maybe he doesn't have to be put in front of live mics.
Exactly. If he really wanted to sell the what was going on in this thing, he'd be like, "Listen, the Infinity War is a big thing, but the next step, we have to escalate it. And everything that you thought was like end of like high stakes for Endgame and Infinity War, that is not even scraping the surface of what we're gonna do with the TVA and this Loki series. That's kind of how you present it. But instead, he used the most shorthanded producer language there is, and I think that comes from the fact of his inexperience, because like he was just an assistant for Dan Harmon, I think, with Rick and Morty, and did some little writing there, and then he wrote a script that got a little popular on an industry like network group called The Blacklist, and from that he was hired. For some reason, he was hired based on that script to work on Loki. And I think it had to do with the fact that his script was a time traveling comedy, and now he's going to Loki, which, is a little bit of time traveling premise. So I think that's basically, it was a big bait and switch on his part. He oversold himself, I think, in my opinion. And Feige was just did not have the right tools to vet him as he should have, or maybe saw something in there that he could mold, but is probably not getting the results he want, which would be the third strike with regards to these last two showrunners that we've seen for WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, because none of them have knocked it out of the park by any objective measure that would be appreciated in the industry, have they?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, if these were aired on network, they would not be working again for a while. They'd be knocked back down to like staff writer or assistant and told, you had your shot, you screwed up. Now you got to start from the bottom again, so to speak.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. And then I want to welcome Erik Runge Madsen as a new member to the channel. Welcome. I hope you will enjoy the bonus content. And let's see if we have some more super chats to go through until Tom returns to us. We can get into the next item of the day. Then we have, let's see. Straight White Mage says H.G. Wells had a prediction about basement dwellers. Tasty. Yeah, he did indeed. So we'll see how that's going to work out, conflating those with other kind of dwellers. And then let's see. Then we have Steve York, who says, if after, we got this one already. And Pilgrim Media says, does Masters of the Universe 87 deserve an IMDb 5.4? Script Doctor, is 5.4 on the IMDb a good rating?
Well, really, a good rating is anything above 6.5 or 7. I would say 5.4 is kind of fair for Masters of the Universe, given what we got out of all the difficulties that the filmmakers had to undergo to make that movie. Yeah, I think that's appropriate. I wish there was something like this. If there's any movie that needed a director's cut and like going back to redo some effects and some things, that would be one of them that I would prefer over a Snyder cut of Justice League, because that movie got it had a lot more issues with it for financing and the powers that be than it ever deserved to, because that could have been something fantastic. I did like the premise quite a bit, but yeah, it was a disservice to the franchise in itself. But they tried. A lot of people in that tried really hard to make that a great movie, and I enjoyed it as a kid. As an adult, it's a fun little thing to throw on and see at that time.
As a sword and sorcery goof around fun movie, it's great. B movie. But as a representation of Masters of the Universe, it sucks.
Oh, hardcore. It's like one of the most disappointing movies I ever saw. There were few movies I were as hyped for as that one when I first learned of its existence. And I still remember the bitter disappointment. But yeah, that's me.
I will say this: the actual sword fight that the director spent his own money on to shoot, it was far more entertaining than it ever deserved to be.
Don't worry, I'm planning on a retrospective for He-Man at some point.
And also it should be noted that the guy doing Skeletor in the sword fight is the same guy it's like the swords guy. I forget his name, but like that swords guy, he's doubling for Langella in that sword fight thing when they
The guy who played Blade, yeah,
exactly him, that guy. And then we have the rookie critic who says, soon, unfortunately, everything will most likely be either rebooted or get the woke treatment. But I see it as a phase that will fade out. Hopefully.
fade in.
Hopefully is the key word there. So let's hope that the people that fund all this get tired of it. And Vassapalooza the Drunk says, I messed up the chat, but this movie is like hearing about a new theme park, co-created by the designers of Chuck E. Cheese.
Ooh.
That's
I kinda
a
like
joke
Chuck E.
that's
Cheese.
completely lost on me, but I take it that it must have been funny and you all got it, so I'll just blame me not being
Chuck
in
E.
the
Cheese
States.
is like it's a arcade that has a pizza place built in with
And a ball pit.
and all that stuff, and then like they have like a stage area where you eat, and it's got a bunch of animatronic singing puppets.
Robots.
that movie that Nick Cage just came out with, that he's locked in that place overnight.
Oh, right. That's
That's
one.
basically
Yeah.
what a Chuck E. Cheese is.
Okay, cool. Are those places still around?
Oh yeah, but they're just actually
They're
Company
few and
Man,
far between.
yeah, did a pretty good video on it, and I think there's some other ones out there that it's one of those companies that was separated at one point, and there was Showbiz Pizza and Chuck E. Cheese, but they were ostensibly the same thing aside from the characters on stage. That was the only difference.
Oh, okay. Oh, well.
And even Chuck E. Cheese showed up at Showbiz Pizza, so it was weird. It's got a real convoluted like background to it. But I mean, they're real fun places. They had shit pizza, but you couldn't help but eat it all.
I have to do a tour of those places next time I find myself in the States.
But yeah, I mean, that was the place where I spent, quarter upon quarter, conquering TMNT arcade game and the Simpsons arcade game, and I think it was either the Marvel or the X-Men. I think it was X-Men at that time was first. But yeah, anyway.
And then we have Daniel who says for $10, we are worlds apart from the days where Clark Gable and Charles Bronson were gunners in World War II. The current people in Hollywood, like Mangold, have no relation to the normal man, nor do they want to try. No, of course not. Why would they want to be near the pleb? I mean, you saw like the elitist attitude. So
Well, the elitist is it's a legend in your own mind. It's not even an objective aspect of it.
No, STR Red Wolf comes in real quick with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, wait, they're making a Five Nights at Freddy's movie? Geesh, that's going to suck, even though Nicolas Cage being in it. It's already out. STR Red Wolf. It's called Willy's Wonderland. Yep. And it was. Some people thought it was shite. Some people love the shit out of it. It's definitely interesting because Nicolas Cage doesn't have a single line in the entire movie.
But he's in all of it.
That's gotta be a weird deal. It's like, I'll be in your movie for a few minutes with 5 lines, or I'll be in the whole movie with no lines.
Well, or it's something like he had the deal where it says, okay, I commit to being the movie, but you commit to paying me $10,000 per word. Or something.
I think
like
it had more to do with the fact that we want to sell this to every country on the planet, so you're not going to say a word, Nick.
Yeah, so let's save money on subtitles and on dubbing. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. And Dave the Impaler says, Nazis are always used as a race propaganda against white people in modern films. Coupled with an aging lead and deconstructionism, not a good sign. We'll see how that works out in the end. But Tom, with that, we're actually caught up. So, do we have any other topics to talk about today?
Well, there's some tangentially attached stuff here we can get into. We've poked a little fun at this, but we might as well get into it. Clarice silenced. Negotiations stalemate Doom at CBS Doom series. Stalemate Doom CBS series to move to Paramount Plus, and nobody's surprised. A month ago, Clarice was poised to move from CBS to Paramount Plus with the promise of a long-running for premium version of the Silence of the Lambs sequel. Now, prospects for the series appear black as negotiations between the Viacom CBS streamer and co-producer MGM have reached a stalemate, I've learned. Additionally, I hear there's no viable path for Clarice to continue on CBS as the broadcast network already committed to a full slate of series for the next season. It would mean the end of the road for the high-profile drama, barring a major breakthrough in Paramount Plus negotiations, which it currently appears unlikely. Reps for Paramount Plus and MGM declined to comment. Let's see here. Industry veterans describe this as one of the craziest situations they've seen, where the season 2 pickup is facing demise and the prospect of putting 300 people out of work. It involves a marquee IP, Silence of the Lambs, a top producer, I can't say that in the same line.
Producer? What?
This seems like someone put this out there trying to get some sympathy or something.
Recently merged company, about to be merged studio MGM, which is in the process of being acquired by Amazon. Depending who you talk to at MGM, either abruptly stopped good faith negotiations that were closing in on an agreement, or the studio opted to walk away after being offered a mediocre deal it could not accept. The saga started with Clarice spending the spring on the bubbles at CBS, where The Freshman was the lowest rated and least watched scripted series in linear ratings. However, the serialized drama considered more suitable for streaming has been a strong performer on Paramount Plus. On May 14th, days before CBS's upfront presentation, Deadline reported that the network's drama SEAL team and Clarice were headed to sibling Paramount Plus, soon to be joined by Evil. According to sources, MGM TV, which co-produces Clarice with CBS Studios, was notified that day of the plan to relocate the show. I hear there was a lot of back and forth between MGM TV and Paramount Plus about a deal May 14th through the 21st, an eventful week that included word about Amazon pending acquisition of MGM. May 17th, Paramount Plus announced the pickup of SEAL Team, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, however, no agreement for Clarice was reached. According to sources close to Viacom, most, if not all, of concessions MGM asked for in the business terms, but MGM still would not agree to a deal. I hear the license fee for the show went from $1.2 million to $1.3 an episode at CBS, where the business model is based on deficit financing to three. Okay, Script, you're gonna have to help us out with this one here. What all is
deficit financing?
Yeah,
they go into debt so that when and then they file for
bankruptcy. They spent $3.8 million an episode on this shit.
Well, it is a period piece that takes place, I guess, in '93, so that could get expensive.
Yeah, you're fucking kidding me.
But it doesn't need to be. That's the problem.
Yeah, why did they do that? That makes no sense other than to try to tangentially attach it to the film as much as possible, which is still
Well, I do have a theory about that, and I'm not 100% sure how accurate this is, but part of me suspects that whatever formula Alex Kurtzman has with regards to budgets and productions, it seems like he's doing things to get as much money up front possible, regardless of, so that he doesn't have to worry about residuals that will most likely never come to fruition for repeat viewings. It seems like he's fully aware of the quality and the level of writing he's able to produce with the people he hires, and is just trying to grab as much money through other production means on the front end, because I mean, I cannot believe that in 5 years we're going to still see Star Trek Discovery, Picard, and Clarice being on a streaming service with a high residual return. I just don't think that's going to be the case. I don't believe that those titles, those shows will bring in the audiences that those services will require. And as a result, Kurtzman is saying, well, since we know we can't make this a lasting show, let's just take all of our money, as much money as we can at the front of the production, and allocate these costs in this way so that we don't have to worry about those decreasing residuals. That's my theory, because there's no other explanation as to why you would have a show so expensive and also be so god awful, unless you're finding a way to make money off of doing it.
Yeah, and where's the money in this? I mean, to me, this looks like a drain, because it's been a complete flop, hasn't it? Which is why we have this story in the first place. I mean, if it did reasonably well, they would have kept it where it was. But
It's
obviously it didn't.
It's not popular, but if you go onto their IMDb stuff, whoever has watched the episodes have been rating it relatively high. There's some 7s in there. I think there's one that's 5, but they're all above. They're all like 7 and 6.7, 6.5. Like, that's a pretty remarkable rating system for a show that's not really all that popular on in the zeitgeist, so to speak. So whoever is watching it is enjoying it, whether they're paid for or some sort of aggregate through Amazon, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that if those ratings are accurate, then there should be no issue with regards to moving this over to Paramount Plus. But clearly there's some missing variables, and yeah, it doesn't make sense. And I think they only have 2 episodes left before their first season is done, and we haven't even had a proper confirmation that a second season is going to be in the works.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, and also what the future holds creatively for a Hannibal Lecter spin-off that can't have Hannibal or any other related characters.
Well, am I the only one here getting the vibe that they're trying to blame Amazon for this, even though Amazon would have nothing to do with this yet?
Amazon?
Because they brought up the deal with Amazon like 12 times in this article.
Yeah.
Or they're trying to get it moved to Amazon.
I don't know. I didn't get that from it, but yeah, it certainly could be script. What do you make of that?
That's a new one for me. I don't know how Amazon plays into this exactly.
Well, because they said that like the deal that CBS offered them was similar to the last one, and it was, the even better or whatever, but MGM's still resistant, and then they bring up the sale a few times. I mean, they don't really attach the two, but because then they bring up one of the other series that's still going to be airing is already filmed. That's why they make it sound like that's the only reason it's SEAL Team or whatever one it was. It's already filmed, so that one's coming definitely. But that's like the negotiations broke down for some reason, and it doesn't make sense. It sounds like to me. That's what I'm getting from it.
Okay, and I guess
as Jay Alman points out here, Amazon is buying MGM.
Yeah, and they bring that up like several times, but that isn't a done deal yet. And even if it does go through, they still have to honor a bunch of contracts and shit through. I mean, it's
Amazon buys all the contracts that MGM has and the distribution deals. I mean, their back catalog for MGM is not all that big in comparison to other studios, because again, they were more into distribution stuff in recent years. But there is good titles from the past that very lucrative for them.
There is another part of this, because remember, Paramount Plus just plopped down some money to get MGM's catalog for Paramount Plus.
Yep.
And they were even going to get No Time to Die, but now that sounds like it's up in the air. So I'm curious if Amazon is causing a bunch more problems than we can kind of see on the surface. Is kind of what I'm getting at here.
It could be right, of course.
Could be. Their purchase could affect a lot of deals that have some like short-term exclusivity contracts and things of that nature.
Well, yeah, because it sounds like the second season wasn't a done deal as it was, even though they announced it. If they're still negotiating, and then they're like, MGM's like, no, we're walking away. MGM's not in a place right now where they can just turn down money. That's another thing.
That is true. And the other part too, you have to ask yourself: has anyone seen any advertisement for Clarice that's not like on a commercial, or like have you seen posters, billboards, radio
here and
like,
there? But it's been very minimal. It's mostly been internet, or like you said, during streaming. Like while I'm streaming something else, then it'll pop up an advertisement for Clarice. But otherwise, I have seen a few internet ads here and there, but that's about it.
Yeah, I commute into Toronto like pretty frequently, and I have not seen a single ad for Clarice at all. And it's
Publicly, no.
yeah, like just haven't seen anything. Like there's not much behind it. And if the show is really popular, you would get the exposure. And
Well, we know it's not, because this was also one of the ones that Entertainment Weekly wrote basically that hit piece on Kurtzman that I still love, and I should buy and frame somewhere. I wonder if they ever put it in their magazine. But anyway, no, no, it was a beauty of a fucking review, because it's like finally someone took the gloves off, and not only did they punch him back for this Clarice idea, they went after him for his whole repertoire. They went after him for everything. And I love that paragraph because it just
so fun when they do that.
It is, because it's like and I love that bit. We're like, we need to stop this man from fucking up any more franchises. It's like, yes, please, thank you, God. Finally, somebody says it besides us, and this is a prime example. I mean,
and puts it in a notable publication.
Well, and go back. We did videos on how this show was basically going to fucking tank, folks. We predicted this pretty simply.
A year before it premiered.
Yeah, because, we had our hands on the script. I'm not going to say how exactly unless that person doesn't care. But not only that, we knew right up front, they're not going to be able to use Hannibal unless they make a deal. And that was something you made a video about specifically, Andre, I remember. So
yeah, they're not going to make a deal. Not now, because now the holders of Hannibal are angry and bitter because they didn't get Clarice when they asked. So why should they give up Hannibal Lecter?
Yeah, because Hannibal's a lot more important than Clarice is, and this fucking series just proved that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, if there ever was a project that you could tell was doomed from the first second, it was this one. I mean, I could tell that series was doomed. In what year was it that Hannibal, the series, came out? Remind me here. 2013? 14?
I was going to say 14 or 15, but yeah, I might.
Oh, it came out a little bit earlier than that.
It could have been a little earlier.
11, 12?
14, 15.
It wasn't too far on the heels of that Hannibal prequel. I know that.
No, those were years apart.
And I've had some like little work on that show when I was, because I was during the time before it was canceled, I was working for a prop company that did rentals for Hannibal, and then also worked on Suicide Squad. So there's some overlay here, and yeah, like it'd been, I think it's 4 or 5 seasons if memory serves. So yeah, it's. It was out for a while by 2000.
That was 2000 was the movie. Bunyan.
Yeah,
we're talking about the TV series. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I think it was around 2012, 2013, but whatever it was. Anyway, ever since that moment, that was when the rights divide first became apparent, was when that series happened, that they couldn't use Clarice Starling. Anyone could tell right then that MGM holding onto it was completely freaking ridiculous, because any Clarice Starling series made without Hannibal Lecter was doomed to fail, because it would just be a random procedural. And then what's the point of being Clarice Starling when you can't go with one thing that makes Clarice Starling interesting, namely her connection to Hannibal Lecter?
Well, not only that,
without that random profiler.
I hate to say this, if you go back and look at the story, for the most part, she wouldn't have gotten anywhere if it wasn't for Hannibal.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Gave her everything. So if anything, she's probably one of the worst fucking detectives I've ever seen on fucking screen. Like, it's clearly the only reason she solves the case is because Hannibal was allowed to get in her fucking head. Like,
yes. Well, like that's the irony of it, and the lost potential of a series like this is a young FBI agent in way over her head because of celebrity, and the only way that you can make her, I mean, basically it's just the same relationship. Like a hero is only good as its villains, as their villains. And here's a show where you could literally have a very interesting villain that would not be equal to Hannibal, but just different than Hannibal, a different mentality, a different way to get inside Clarice's head and mess with her, what have you, and force her to grow as a character. That's how you would make the dynamic. And part of me suspects that this is the concept that Kurtzman and Jenny Lumet were thinking of in their head, but just had no idea how to translate, because again, they're not very good writers.
No.
And as a result, you have a cast and a crew that are all very
Not
very
even
good
by
in their own
accident.
right, having to do this terrible show.
You ever notice that Kurtzman has never even done something good on accident?
No.
like at least you get to one, you know, like that's where like what's his name, Goldsman, Akiva Goldsman. That's why he's here. He's got like one or two by accident. It seems like at this point, and I'm starting to think the same thing about Terrio almost.
Kurtzman killed the Zorro franchise.
It's true.
The Mask of Zorro was a huge hit. They were trying to get a sequel made. They went through a lot of issues. When they finally did get one, it unfortunately was Alex Kurtzman was the writer. And
I don't know why Andre left that out of that video, but
that killed it basically in its opening weekend. It did not do well at all.
He's fucking poison.
Yeah.
I mean, like everything he touches.
Yeah, pretty much. But he's a politician. And if he's a politician, he can be poison and get away with it. Not saying that's a good thing, but that is nonetheless how it is.
And speaking of Kurtzman, we've got some tangentially attached news here. We've got some first looks at Prodigy. Goody.
Well, there should be a hoot.
Yeah. We got the cast is going to include Riley Alazaraki, if I'm saying that right, as Rock Talk, Brett Gray as On My Block, or from On My Block is Doll, Angus Imrie from The Crown is Zero, Jason Matsukas, if I'm saying that right, from Infinite as Jankum Pong, Ella Purnell from Army of Dead as Gwyn, and D. Bradley Baker from SpongeBob as Murph. And here's a look at the cast and their characters. So there you go. And here's some more first looks. That means we're probably due for a trailer, it looks like, here in the next
pretty soon.
Weeks,
should be
I'd
pretty
imagine.
Soon.
Nothing in this few images here makes me think anything none of this makes me feel like I'm looking at something Star Trek. None of it.
Well, to be fair, this is the series that's made for kids, so
yeah, it is.
It's not made for us. Although I will say that Star Trek, the animated series back in the 70s, was also made for kids, and that was most definitely made for us, because some of the best episodes in Star Trek canon are in that series. This, however, they seem to have gone out of their way to alienate anyone above like the age of, I don't know, 7 or something, 6 or 7 or something.
Yeah, they got that Jason Mantzoukas, who he has the very obnoxious voice. That's his signature. So we can kind of pretty much surmise that the Janko Pog is going to be the most annoying one of the cast.
Yeah, the thing I like though is that they seem to have like the small picture, but he looks like the guy who was in the Dictator movie, the one from
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah, it looks like his co-star from there. So that's cool, I guess. I like that movie, but yeah, but again, it's not made for me. But then again, nothing Star Trek these days is made for me. And yeah, I don't know what else there is to say about it. And with that, Tom, are you still here, or did you have to go out and let the doggy out? I think he had to go and let the doggy out.
Oh, Sadie wanted out.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So how excited are you for Prodigy script? Have you heard anything about like it from a scripting point of view, or have you heard any buzz about it?
I've not heard any buzz. I've only heard a little bit of buzz about Strange New Worlds, but that's not really whole lot to report other than they're almost done filming, and they're hoping it's going to be good, but they have the reservations. That's because they know what a lot of the writers that are working on that show know exactly what they're up against, and they're very well aware of the reception of Discovery. I can tell you that. That's what I have heard. So
they're not under any illusions that Discovery is actually liked, no matter what they try to fool people in public into thinking.
They're definitely not under any delusions that Discovery is good. That is true. I'm pretty sure from what I've heard, not just through them, but also through some of the people that work on the crew and as well, that they're just really hoping people like it, and they don't know. They're very unsure right now. There's a lot of doubt. They'll never say it, obviously, publicly, of course.
Obviously.
But, they have some doubts, so they're hoping, and the cast is hoping as well. So.
Yeah, they're probably also under no illusions that this is popular, or like that they're coming from something popular, that they're coming onto a fan base that's been pretty burned already. First by Discovery, then by Picard. I don't know which was worse. Actually, I do know Picard was worse.
Picard was worse. Discovery's not much better.
You can ignore Discovery at least.
Yeah, that's like the thing. Discovery, you can easily pretend never happened. Even though it's a 25% difference or all that, Picard is much more difficult to ignore because it has the same actors, many of them.
Not just that, it has the worst, 10-15 minutes in history of Star Trek with that turning him into a robot and all that shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it'll be
anyway.
Yeah, again, Star Trek is dead to me at this point. I can't even rewatch the original series. No, well, certainly not Next Generation. I tried a little while ago, and I was like, it's not the same anymore. They retroactively ruined the Next Generation for me.
Well, that hasn't happened for me. I'm very easily able to compartmentalize.
Maybe in time I'll be able to, but not the last time I tried.
Just got to remember, none of the people that made those actors say those words were involved in Picard. So
no, this is pretty obvious. But yeah, Tom, did we have any other stories today?
Well, we know that Knives Out 2 is moving along smoothly, so thank God. Matrix 4 star Jessica Henwick has joined the cast, so that means they're in the process of casting. So that means he's staying the fuck away from Star Wars a little bit longer. In other minor news, it's pretty much that's the big business. There's one minor story that I found interesting, but I don't know if you or anybody else will hear. But if you're a Blu-ray fan anyway, Columbia has announced their next line of 4K restorations. For those who may remember, last year, the year before, they released a 6-film set, and now they have their next set of films because, of course, I just bought Taxi Driver in 4K on digital, so they've got to release it in 4K on Blu-ray, of course.
Of course.
But yeah, this set will include The Social Network, Taxi Driver, Sense and Sensibility, Anatomy of a Murder, Oliver, and Stripes. So a couple I'm really looking forward to there. So not a bad set. Not exactly some of the movies I was hoping for. For those who may remember, Sony put out there to where you could actually vote on the movies that were going to be put into this. So those are the movies that evidently won.
Well, Stripes in 4K will be funny.
I think that was one I voted for, at least.
Actually, for the John Larroquette scenes.
I voted for La Bamba, that, Karate Kid 2, and a couple other ones. But I think Karate Kid 2 is going to come anyway, because I think they had to remaster it in 4K for Cobra Kai. So chances are they'll just release that as a regular release.
Oh, they're probably remastering all of them.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they did. But yeah, so that's the next line of one. I'm not surprised I knew Taxi Driver was going to be in there, even though I bought it, but I got it for cheap. So I was like, whatever. I was like, yeah. But anyway, yes, Lawrence of Arabia is coming out solo, Maestro. Although that's kind of another thing that pisses me off, but not really. All the releases in their original box set are coming out solo. which they kind of lied to us and told us they weren't going to be available any other way. So, but that included like movies like Lawrence of Arabia and League of Their Own, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Jerry Maguire, Gandhi. I think that was all 6 of them. Was that 6 movies? No, I'm missing one. Dr. Strangelove was the other one. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that was a great set. I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'd take me some Doctor Strangelove in 4K.
Oh, it's great. That set is really good. This one I'm a little disappointed by because there's only like 2 or 3 titles. I'm like, yeah, but the rest of them I probably wouldn't pick up, but who knows?
Yeah.
That's about it, folks. It's Monday.
Yeah,
and we managed to keep it under 3 hours for once.
Yeah, not bad.
Did we catch up on all the super chats? We got them all.
I'm going to do a quick
double check,
quick recap, and double check that we
While you're doing that, there was some sad news over the weekend. We lost character actor and veteran actor Ned Beatty. Of course, you may know him best from movies like Superman and Deliverance. But a great actor. Just a ton of great performances out of the guy. Always a welcome treat in any movie, even some of the worst films. He's the best part. You know what I mean? So yeah, Otis, exactly. Yeah, we lost Otis this last weekend. So that really made me sad. Yeah, me too, Sean. I was like, oh man.
Yeah. And of super chats, we had STR Red Wolf who said, "Wait, they're making a Five Nights at Freddy's movie?"
Yeah, we brought that one up.
Jeez, yeah. Well, just to play it safe. Jeez, that's going to suck, even though Nicolas Cage being in it.
Yeah, and that's where I pointed out it's already out.
Yeah, and the rookie critic said Willy's Wonderland, one of Nick's best works. And Super Blubber Puss says, check out the numerous Chuck E. Cheese fight videos on YouTube, Andre. Oh, no, this sounds interesting. Fight videos in Chuck E. Cheese. Now this gets the imagination going. I kind of have an idea where this might be going and who's doing the fighting, but we shall see.
Yeah. And we also lost Clarence Williams III. That's right. I forgot to mention that as well. Most well known from Tales from the Hood. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
And then Mihon says for 20 Swedish krona, who was the writer script said destroyed all?
Alex Kurtzman?
Yeah, I guess.
I
can't think of anyone else we've spoken about today that destroyed everything quite as badly as Alex Kurtzman. I mean, he is. There's very few people that have done as much.
Had that impact in the industry.
Yeah.
If he was only one number higher, he'd be clever, but it's 665, not 666 on the back of his head.
Well, give him time. Give him time.
No, because the devil be clever. That's the thing.
Yeah. He'll get there.
He's just a destroyer.
Yeah.
Oh, he said Dave something, Mihan said? Dave?
Oh, Dave Callahan. I don't yeah, I mean, him personally don't have any gripes, but as a writer, Dave Callahan's not that great.
Yeah, and the other writer, the one that wrote on Loki, I don't know if you saw that, Andre. Yeah, I sent you the article. That's the guy who's writing Kevin Feige's fucking Star Wars movie.
Yeah, we spoke about it a little bit when
I tried to run. Yeah, it's been a hell of a morning here. So anyway, yeah, he's also in Half Baked. That's right, Monkey Jeebus. Yeah, Clarence Williams III, that is.
Mod Squad guy. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Mod Squad. That's right. He was in that too. I forgot.
So yeah.
Sad weekend as far as that goes, but well, hopefully we can have some good news to look forward to this week. I have a feeling we're going to have a Star Trek trailer to break down here before too long. It looks like, yeah, interesting change of events as far as Clarice goes, but not surprising. I wonder if it has more to do with the MGM deal than anything, but we'll see. So, still can't believe they spend that much an episode. Jesus.
Me too.
Yeah, that was a waste of money. They're not getting back again.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. Anyway, thank you so much, guys, for being here. We couldn't do this without you. You guys make this possible. Don't forget to do what you can to help out Bird of Prey. I think Andre will probably add the link if he hasn't already.
It's already in the description.
There you go. I figured as much.
Yeah, it was there before we even started today.
please do your best to help him out if you can. Like I said, I know times are tough right now, but times are even tougher for him. So keep that in mind. And if you want to know what's going on, check out his channel. Actually, his channels, multiple ones, but one of his later videos recently leads to his other channel that explains everything the man's been through. And the guy's been through a lot of shit. And just to be able, just having to deal with what's going on right now on top of everything else is just, I can't imagine it. So my heart goes out to the guy. Going to do what I can to help him out this payday as well. So do what you guys can for real. I normally don't beg like this for help, but he really needs it. And I know we're doing everything we can right now to get him the medical help he needs as well. So if anybody knows anybody in that area, I know Gary put out all the info last week. So check in with him, or I think his producer was handling most of it. So either way, get a hold of whoever you can if you know anybody, and do anything to help there on that end. But yeah, if you want to know what's going on, check out his channel. Do subscribe as well. He does a lot of great watch parties and discussions. I've popped in quite a few times. So
yeah, he has a Cinema Sunday show, which is a lot of fun.
There you go. Anyway, yeah. Andre.
And with that, I would like to say thank you to every single one who have been watching us today, supporting us with your super chats. Thanks also to the two Matts, including Matthew Kadish of the Salty Nerd podcast. So be sure to check them out as well. Link is in the description. And finally, check out Toxic Femininity later tonight. And the Destiny Captain, did we miss his super chat? I shall do a quick check and see if we got anything right. I don't think I missed anything. I'm going to do a double check anyway, of course, as one does. Let's see, it was Destiny Captain. Is that what we said?
Yep, Destiny Captain.
Let's see, here we see. Destiny Captain said for $9.99. The kids over at Dial the Gate and Gate World on YouTube seem to have some inside info of what's happening with Stargate. Would Midnight's Edge be open to having on for a Stargate episode at some point?
Yeah, we missed that one.
Them over. Yeah, actually, we did miss that one.
I don't know how, but yeah,
that was a big one. Yeah, that was a good. Really sorry about that.
Sure, we're open to that. I'm not real up on the Stargate universe, but I know a few people who are to a point. Script, are you a big, huge Stargate fan at all?
I enjoyed the movie, and I did like Richard Dean Anderson in the first few seasons of Stargate. I kind of dipped out of it because as that show was picking up, my career was picking up, so I wasn't able to watch as much. But no, I dig Stargate. It's got a fantastic fan base, on par with Star Trek, at least at the time, with regards to the relationship between the cast and the fans. That's always been a real positive one. So.
I mean, if you know those guys personally or want to send them our way, please. We'll definitely talk to them. We're always open to talk to anybody. I mean, we can't guarantee anything's going to happen right away, but we're definitely open to trying.
Yeah, absolutely. So because I don't know much about Stargate beyond the absolute basics. And I knew a little bit about what was going on with the reboot before the merger. Yeah. But how things have been thrown around after, I cannot say.
Yeah, that's my thing. Outside of the movie, I probably know more about the recent behind-the-scenes stuff more than anything. And a lot of that's gone silent since there's been more wheeling and dealing going on. So I'm not even sure. Andre probably knows more than I do at this point.
No, I know nothing right now. I mean, I haven't heard anything since that was announced. I threw a wrench in everything.
Yeah. So right now, I know things are kind of just floating around, but who knows? And I know we do plan on hopefully getting Mr. Almost back as well. So, there's other possibilities as
that's
other
Battlestar.
That's Battlestar Galactica. I know, but what we had. Lou Diamond Phillips there that day too, and he's on Stargate one.
He's Stargate, yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I meant then. I knew one of them. I didn't even watch Battlestar remake. Okay, I know the original. I saw. It's a remake. Fuck that noise. I was that kid way back when. I don't give remakes a great chance right away. I'll give them a chance when I got nothing else to fucking do. Like that's when I watched the Total Recall remake when it was like already 5-6 years old. Like,
Jeez, I remember when that was in production, and I was
yeah, like I had
"That's a
nothing
bad
better
idea."
to do, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna waste some fucking time in brain cells, and I did. So I was like, okay, I'm glad I got that out of the fucking way.
Yeah. I remember I saw that in theaters. I remember being annoyed with one thing of it, namely the elevator that goes through the earth. I thought that was such a cool concept that it should have been used in its own original movie rather than being wasted on a remake that had no future beyond the immediate box office and DVD sales the next 6 months.
RoboCop, on the other hand, Joshua, since I'm such a huge fan of RoboCop, that was one I went into, like when you go into the doctor and you know you're going to get bad news or you got to have a surgery. Like that's the way I went into that movie. I was just like wincing the whole way into it. And then by the time I got out of it, I'm like, okay, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I mean, there were some interesting ideas there, but overall it was mostly harmless and nobody's going to remember this shit in 10 years. So
yeah, our RoboCop remake was better.
Yeah, that was a great collection of everybody just doing it.
Well, and remaking RoboCop in and of itself is stupid. You just need to pick it up.
Yeah.
You don't need to do it. He's already kind of like a comic book character in and of itself. So you just kind of like pick up the adventures of RoboCop. That's all you need to do. Don't need to retell the tale. It's like Batman. We all know how he started.
Well, I mean, I would say the TV series, there's a couple of TV series and miniseries of RoboCop that were quite decent.
They had great ideas, but they couldn't execute them very well. Yeah.
Not often. Yeah. They didn't have the entirety of the nuance of what original RoboCop did. But yeah, it pulled off some pretty impressive things given the budget and the tight schedules they had to shoot with.
I mean, I got the idea what they did with the remake, not to go far off the deep end because now we're crawling on 3 hours. But like, the original film was, a guy who lost his humanity trying to gain it back. This was the opposite. They were taking away his humanity throughout the movie. So I got that. They made the wife a bit more prominent and they gave her a different kind of role than they did in the original. I'm like, okay, you're doing something different there. And, I kind of liked how they amped up the corporatism of it all. I mean, there was elements to it that were like, okay, I get the idea, but it was just missing that spark the Verhoeven brought to the original. And a lot of that was the humor, the tongue-in-cheek nature of it, what made RoboCop better than a movie should be when it's called RoboCop, basically. Like that time RoboCop shot the guy in the dick. And with that, let's get some koalas in the rain. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do that. Before that, Script, where can people find you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at ScriptDoctorPhD. I do have a YouTube channel where I review and analyze shows such as Batwoman, Mandalorian, and Star Trek Discovery. It's a little on a break right now as I am currently writing up a couple of screenplays for some people. But when that is done, the channel will be back up. So if you want to see where I will be popping up on whatever live stream I am, just follow me on Twitter.
There you go. And Andre, anything we got to plug this week? I think we're going to get back to Bond, if I'm not mistaken, but I got to double check with Robert. But outside of that, I don't know if there's...
That's just stay tuned for more scripted content. There's going to be more of it this week.
There you go. And with that, finally, here's some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koala, koala. Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koala,